Tonight is April 16th, 2015. It's probably a minute after 7 o'clock. The first item of business will be prayer and pledge. And I would like to invite Mr. Bob Brooks up to lead us in the prayer.
Father, we just thank you so much for your love and for your care for us. Father, we just pray that tonight you would be in charge to give us wisdom in making decisions for the city. We don't always agree, but we know that you're in charge. Again, thank you for your love, for your care. We just ask these things in Jesus' name.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Was that me or you?
It was me. Okay, second item is to approve the agenda, and I think we have a few things that we need to add tonight. First thing would be the concerts for Bowie Park, and it's, hang on, let me find it. It's the Starlight series, is that right, Jenny? Okay. Starlight Jam, and I guess that would be, if everybody's wanting that item added, we would go to J. I'm trying to, okay, contract, discuss or take action. And then the other item is the recommendations from the tree board. And that would be K. It'd be 10K. And I gave everybody a copy of that. Anything else that we needed to add? Yes.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to, as L, give an update on what Mr. Daugherty and I got in terms of information about the employee health insurance plans. There's no action required tonight on that. We just want to give you an update, give the board an update on what we've come up with.
Perfect. Is that all that we need? Okay.
We're going to give an answer to the school.
Okay, and that's not on the agenda. Okay.
M.
M? Okay, so donation, discuss or take action on old business. Okay, let's take that off of M.
B.
D. Okay. Okay, is that it? Okay, if I can get a first and second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Any discussion?
Mayor, thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that it has become routine for this board to add things to the agenda after the agenda has been published, both to the BOC and to the public. And in fact, I picked up an agenda tonight off of the podium there, and the agenda that I picked up off the podium obviously doesn't have the items that we are requesting that need to be added tonight. I don't think that it's proper to amend the agenda or to add things to the agenda outside of an absolute emergency after A, it's been published to the public, and B, it's been sent to us. And that has become routine since I've been a member of this board, since November. I think that the public needs to have adequate notice. I think that I submit that it could raise issues with the Open Meetings Act, and I would amend the motion to approve the agenda as published.
Okay, any more discussion?
I'll second his motion.
Okay. So we have an amended motion to keep the agenda the way it is. And the only other discussion I would have to throw in is, I really do agree with you, but I do believe that a lot of things that are time-sensitive sometimes do come up. And so in those cases, or it's just one of our fault, like the tree, I felt like the recommendations from the tree board really was my obligation, or Mr. Sutton, even though he wasn't there, I'm just saying, to make sure it got on the agenda. And I let that slide because I wasn't used to having to do it, because typically that was something the Don would do, the follow-through and recommendations. So to explain why I wanted to add the recommendations to, and you know, I do think there are occasions, but I do hate having to vote on something when we haven't had time to look over it. But with that being said, just for the record, I'll go ahead and call the amended motion to a vote. Did you have something?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. I agree with Commissioner Crutcher in principle, and I think that though I will not support the amendment tonight because I believe it's changing midstream, that we can put people on notice that from this point on we will be going back to the way it's originally intended. I do think he makes a valid point, and so I am in support of doing that from henceforth, but tonight I will not support the amendment because the people that needed this or brought this were operating under the way we had conditioned them to be, and that was that we would take late additions. Thank you. That's all I had.
Anybody
Mayor.
else? Go ahead.
I concur with that as well. I do feel that Commissioner Crutcher is exactly right, and I will actually ask that we put that on the next agenda for us to show our support for that and laying that out for the future. And I want that as an agenda item, that we were going to set it and we're going to stick to it unless it is an emergency.
I think that's sounds like a good plan. But we will need to clarify, like the school donation, that would have been something that should have been, it was just an oversight. Yes, Mr. Hall?
Commissioner Johnson, could I request that be for all boards?
It would sure make it simpler for everything, all boards. I think we need to put that, go ahead and make that. Thank you, sir.
Agreed.
Thank you, sir.
I agree.
I don't have any problem with what the board wants to do, but I do want to clarify one thing. On a regular meeting, and I don't think it would be good to make up your whole entire agenda and add it when when you get here. I think that at least it doesn't look good. But as far as it being illegal, there's no case law that says it's illegal. The state statute allows it. We've had a couple of instances here where we would have mentioned this to the Planning Commission the other night, where we would have lost some grants because by the time they got it, you didn't have it at the last meeting, and the expiration for them getting the response back, and these were 100% grants.
That's an emergency.
That's emergency, but
That's
the
not what I'm talking
statute doesn't. The statute doesn't say emergency. You have not violated the Open Records Act, because the Open Records Act says people have got to know where the meeting is going to be. They don't have to come. If nobody comes, you don't have to cancel your meeting. I agree with what you're saying, other than the fact that there's no way that at a regular meeting, now if you call a special meeting, you cannot add anything to a special meeting. Once that agenda goes out, you can call another special meeting 2 nights later, but you have to stick to the agenda with no additions, because that does have a problem. You're calling for a special purpose, and this meeting is not called, this is a general meeting.
Right. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner.
I didn't say that it was a violation of the Open Meetings Act or that it was illegal either statutorily or by case law. What I said is, what I meant to say, or what I want to make sure that I'm saying, is that it's bad practice. It's bad practice to continue to add things after the agenda. There's a deadline for a reason. We have a deadline to get I understand there's emergencies arise, and I think that's what you're talking to. But some of this stuff that we have been adding as of late, it's not emergencies.
I have no opinion on that, Commissioner Crutcher.
I'm not asking for one.
I don't
I'm
set the
just-
agenda. I'm just saying, I heard.
I'm
you
not
say
asking
that-
for an opinion. I'm still talking. I've still got the floor. I'm not asking for an opinion. I'm just simply saying that's where I'm going with this.
Did you?
Well,
The only thing that I want to
Yeah.
add in addition was, I think if you check the minutes, the Open Records Act was mentioned. And the Open Records Act is a concern of mine. I want to be sure that you know you're not violating the Open Records Act. As to how you do your agenda, as long as it's legal, I have nothing in that. I'm just a legal advisor. I don't want anything to do with your agenda.
Thank
And Mayor, there's no case law, with all due respect, speaking one way or the other as to adding things to a regular meeting, as I understand it. But that way I read the Attorney General's opinion about this particular issue, and MTS has issued an opinion that says that it's bad practice to do this, it's not professional, that we shouldn't do it, and that it could lead to litigation when we do have some case law that addresses the issue. So that's where I am on the issue.
Okay.
I just want to say, I agree with you on this right here. There are cases where we come up, like on the school thing for tonight, that was left off, that needs to be addressed in a timely manner for the budget readings on it. But I agree, just for frivolous things, it doesn't have to be taken care of because of contracts or whatever. They shouldn't be just added at the end of it. That's all I've got on. I agree with you.
We actually had this conversation the other night at the Planning Commission because things were added, and I did not vote to add things for this very reason. So I feel really strong in the fact that what's the limit, and that's something we'll discuss maybe. Who says what's an emergency? Who has that call? Is it the city manager that says it's emergency? Or what, but those, like the school's donation, that was just an oversight. And I mean, Mrs. Johnson gives me an opportunity to look over the agenda. It's just a second set of eyes. And and I didn't think of it or catch it. And, I don't think any of us really, per se, directed it. So it's just sometimes, my point of this is sometimes it just happens. And so when we do have the discussion, maybe we can go and try to figure out who's going to determine what the emergency is. Is that the city manager, or is it, the board as a whole? So, and one of the things that came up in the Planning Commission, that anybody had the right to ask for something to be added to the agenda. And as a Board of Commissioners, we had a right to say no. So those are things that we'll have to clarify because it gets conflicting. So maybe with more discussion and some time for everybody to, look into it, we can move forward. Before I call for a vote. Okay.
Mayor, I was just going to say I want to remove my second
Okay.
from the amendment.
Okay. So.
I'll second it so it goes to a vote.
Okay. So we have an amended motion. Discussion is closed. All in favor
Of the amended motion?
of the amended
Aye.
motion? Okay, opposed?
Nay.
Nay. And the first original motion to add these items to the agenda, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Motion carries. We will add these items to the agenda with the intent to add this discussion back on the next meeting. Okay, citizens' comments, Mr. Bob Brooks.
Ma'am, gentlemen, I'd like to read a note from my wife Donna. My name's Bob Brooks, I'm sorry. She was unable to be here tonight, but she wanted me to read this. So as a dutiful husband, I will. Now is the time for our community to come together to solve our fiscal problems. I take my share of the blame for not paying attention for 20 years, as a lot of us can. Determining what we did wrong so we won't do it again is reasonable, but placing blame is for election cycles. although this is my opinion, I think we can learn from the past. Back to Donna. Things are going to change one way or the other. We may consolidate our debt, raise property taxes, or cut services. If you have an opinion, an idea, or solution, please come to the next town hall meeting on April the 30th at 7 p.m. and let your voice be heard. The meeting is for citizens to voice their concerns. It will last until everyone is heard. If you cannot come to the meeting, write a letter and have someone read it for you. Collectively, we are smarter than just a small committee. Or as I saw it said one time, none of us is as smart as all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to item 4, and that'll be awards and recognition. And I believe Mr. Hall will take this section.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board of Commissioners. Tonight, as I walk up here, I'm going to be talking. I think I've got a special mic. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Tonight, we're honoring the fire department for their participation in a controlled burn of which one of our two of our citizens donated this house where they're putting their business. I personally was there that morning, saw the hard work and all the coordination with other fire agencies within the county. I think one actually from Dixon also. And actually saw the fire get started, saw how it started from the floor up, go to the ceiling, and at that point it was around 900 degrees. Then I saw the firefighters go into the building, put the fire out, and then I saw them exit the building. Also seen how hot they were. I made a brief statement about one of the firemen, actually the lieutenant, how he come out just wringing wet. But they all seemed to be very hot at that day. So I'm honoring, other than one employee tonight, I'm honoring several. They're employees of the month, and I will call them out now if they would come to the podium. Fire Chief Travis O'Neill. Captain Scott Gunny Hughes, who organized this, who will be doing a PowerPoint replay of it again. We've done it once before, but we're going to be doing it after this ceremony here is over with. Congratulations, Gunny. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your hard work. Lieutenant Scott Hughes.
Flag.
Congratulations. Thank you. Volunteer firefighter Jacob Duffield. Jacob, I hope I pronounced your name okay. Yes, sir. Thank you for your service to our city. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Volunteer firefighter Adam Wynn. Adam, thank you for your service to our city.
Thank you.
Firefighter Sean Grandowitz. Thank you, Sean, for participating in this activity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Firefighter Dakota Day. Thank you so much, Dakota. I'm going to start over here. Lieutenant Clay Golson. Clay, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Captain Jesse Woodard. Thank you, Captain. Volunteer firefighter Tamara Poston. Tamara, thank you for your service to our city. Really appreciate it. Volunteer firefighter Brandon Hurst. Thank you so much, Brandon. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Brandon.
Volunteer Captain Daniel Beard. Thank you, Captain. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Daniel.
Volunteer firefighter Zachary Beard. Sorry, Zachary Baker. Sorry about that, Zachary. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Let's give them a hand. Can they be gotten in a picture? Close in.
That's a big.
We're gonna have to double up. Let's see. There you go, Mayor.
Even though I don't like to be in front, I will for this
Come on over
occasion.
here, these tall boys here.
I know.
Let's get these tall boys in here. Thank you.
Way to go, guys.
Now, Johnny will go ahead with his PowerPoint and show y'all what all they did that day. Thank you so much.
Through perfect hindsight, it appears that we actually picked the absolute best weekend to possibly burn a house down or conduct any training in the month of February or March. For our purposes, it just was pure dumb luck. But turned out yet on the morning of February 7th, throughout that day, we had the best training weather we could hope for to conduct a training burn. We were able to conduct that burn thanks to the support of Mr. Shiver and Michael, who donated the house to us. They were planning on expanding the after a lot of prep work that these people worked to get it to where we were legally allowed to train in, it was safe to train in, we gathered up all these individuals here. We had 9 agencies come out and support us that day. These are all agencies yet in a real emergency could potentially come to Fairview to help us. So it let us work with them, train with them, let our people get to know them, let their people get to know us better. Overall, it was a pretty busy day. You could see the number of instructors and students. To do a live burn training exercise is incredibly instructor intensive because the last thing we want to do is hurt anybody in a training environment. As Mr. Hall mentioned, it was real fire, it was incredibly hot, and there was the potential for people to get hurt if things did not go as were planned. And we all know things never go as planned, but fortunately, with the help of the instructors and everybody being on their toes, we didn't have any injuries. Throughout the day, we did 2 fire development burns, 7 fire attacks, and we did 3 vent isolate enter search exercises. Purpose of the fire development burns was to let the firefighters again see the 4 stages that a fire goes through. How it starts to grow, what happens as it becomes fully involved, and then as it decays. So they all got in and they were able to see it. We set a couple pallets on fire, let it get hot, let them actually see the smoke, see how everything grew, how the room would start to bank down, they'd lose visibility, and let them, see the conditions that they would be functioning in real life if they ever had to actually go in to save somebody or to go in to save property and extinguish a fire. So then we did the 7 fire attack burns, which were very similar, only this time instead of instruction taking place, we let the fire get going. Captain Woodard, Captain Beard, who were our ignition crew that day, would get us a nice fire going. We'd let it get hot, let the smoke bank down, and then the teams would go in 4-man teams and conduct the fire attack. Besides being able to conduct the fire attack, our engineers got training. They got practice running the fire pumps, ensuring that we had a steady supply of water. There's Captain Woodard and Mr. Beard towards the end of the day when they're starting to get a little tired after burn number 7. Vent enter search exercises are what we do if we arrived on scene and a family member told us, I was able to get out of the house, but I couldn't get my baby out of that 2nd-story bedroom, so we know exactly where they are. Well, instead of fighting our way through the fire to get to that individual, we would actually ladder that room, break into that room, shut the door to isolate that room, search for the victim, and then bring them back out the way we came in. And then we'd worry about starting to extinguish the fire if we didn't have enough people to do both. So they got some practice breaking windows, getting into rooms. That's firefighter Hara. He kind of misjudged the distance between that window and the actual floor of the building and kamikazed in on us and discovered it was a little deeper than he thought, but he was unhurt and he was able to rescue Randy and get him back out of the building. Next slide. Okay, we were able to work on all of our support operations. We had water set up to practice drafting operations. We were able to function off a hydrant, but we had additional water in case there was a problem. We worked on our rehab operations. We worked on engineering operations. Any task that we could accomplish that day, we knocked out and we conducted training on. Overall, we had 9 agencies participate. There were 50 firefighters there, 20 fire explorers, and we did approximately 700 hours of training that day as a group. We worked on incident command, fire development, suppression, search operations, water supply operations, and at all times we had rapid intervention teams standing by in case somebody got in trouble. And eventually at the end of the day, because we were there to let that building go, we had to do something that we never want to do. We started to let the building go. And then when it was all said and done, we got some really good training. The property owners had the majority of the consumables on their building site cleared for him, and if he ever gets some dry weather, he'll actually demolish the rest of the building and start his building project. Any questions at this time? Thank you.
Thank you. Announcements. Do we have anything, Mr. Hall?
Just announce the emission testing on Monday and Tuesday from 7:30 till noon. Thank you.
Okay. And I know that the Business Expo is this Saturday from 10 to
10 till 2. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it seems like there's something else going on.
There's this offer sale going on to the school.
And what is it?
I'm thinking there's something, a sale going on, an auction or something.
Oh, I know right now the school is selling plants, so that might be. I don't know when that ends, though, but that is something that's going on.
Mayor?
Yes.
I know we're going to cover the contract a little later, but I believe the first Starlight Jam will be Friday the 24th at 7 o'clock, Jenny, and we'd like to have a good turnout.
Okay, great. Okay, if we don't have, there's no more announcements tonight, we'll move on. Staff comments. Mr. Humber.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor. Commissioners, I have just a short report. Happy to report tonight that since January 1st, we've issued 27 permits for new homes. So we're on a pace, excuse me, we're on a pace to, if we stay at this rate, we could issue 90 permits this year. I'm projecting 80. But it is, it is our busy time of year, but we've had a very good start this year as far as new house starts. So I just want to report that to you. Actually, since the 1st of April, we've issued 9. So, wow. Thank you.
Y'all are busy. Any questions for Mr. Humber? Okay, we'll move on down. Ms. Brandy, you got anything tonight? Okay. Mr. Daugherty, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. I apologize that I do not have my report finished for March, but I am very, very close, and I anticipate getting that in an email out to the board tomorrow. Also, we had, I anticipate getting you some numbers within the next 7 days as far as next year's budget. And we'll start going from there. We have met with Tim White, Benefits Inc. Very excited about the health benefit package that he's putting together. Commissioner Massell's going to talk more about that later. And then also, I've talked with Jim Warner with Cumberland Securities, and I talked to him about concerns some folks had about the debt restructure, and it got very solid feedback from him as far as the facilities tax and how that would work with the consolidation. And he said it'd be very easy just to put together a schedule and go smoothly forward. So anyway, and everything's just busy business as usual.
Do we have our sales tax in for this month, or?
Yes, ma'am, $86,000, local option.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions for Mr. Daugherty? And when is the next budget meeting or finance meeting?
Right now, nothing is scheduled except for the 30th. And I would like to schedule Mr. White to be out with benefits on that meeting. I'd like to schedule a meeting before the town hall meeting. He needs, since we will be changing carriers, the employees need to have a 60-day notice, ACA regulations. And then as far as soon as I get some numbers together, I'd like to call a meeting. We can call one tonight, but that may be good, may force me to be ready, but I'd like to have at least 7 days.
Any commissioners have any recommendations? Just wait to hear from Tom, or do you want to go ahead and set one before the, I guess the town hall's the next one, the first, we can do it before the first meeting of the month. Would that be too far away?
If I could offer a suggestion.
Sure.
As Tom mentioned, we would like to have Mr. White come out before the town hall meeting and meet with the board and, definitely talk about specifics, answer any questions. I'll try to answer what if you have, or Tom and I will not. What if we started that meeting at 6 o'clock and then immediately following that meeting went directly into a discussion of the budget, and then the town hall to immediately follow that? Since the meeting for the budget will be maybe the health insurance is supposed to be open too, but assuming that they're all open meetings, then it could just flow like that.
Okay, so we would do the informational meeting with the Benefit Inc.'s, or would it be a special meeting?
Well, it would have to be a special
Okay.
meeting because we're going to have to make a decision at that particular time so that we can get the proper notice out to the employees. We have to issue the notice on May the 1st if we change insurance carrier.
Okay.
Can we do it before the 30th? Can we do it before the 30th?
The 28th meeting, isn't it? Maybe the 28th.
Tim's flexible. I mean, it's whatever the board would like to do.
I won't be here on the 30th, but if we can do it earlier, then
Well, what else is, there's no other meetings?
Tuesday's the 28th, or
Tuesday the 28th.
I don't know if anything's conflicts.
I know we have that industrial, the 27th. Would you rather us, on a Monday night, would you rather us do it before that? And that way you're not having to come, you know, that would work. I don't know who all has to be here for that meeting, but it would save staff for having to come, you know, because they'll already be.
what staff would be here for the industrial board meeting?
Myself.
You're the only one?
As far as I know, unless Frank wants to attend, you know, but the mayor will be here probably, so. And y'all are welcome too, that's, you know, it's,
I can do the 28th.
Okay, that's fine.
Start at 6 on the 28th.
I'm fine with that.
We'll do Tim first, and then we'll go into the finance. Is that the motion you make?
Yeah, if y'all want to meet then, yeah, that's fine.
I make a motion that we call a special meeting on Tuesday, April 28th, beginning at 6 o'clock. First discuss the health insurance benefits.
Today's just the 18th.
To be immediately followed by a discussion about the finance committee, special meeting of the finance and board of commissioners together.
Okay.
Did I word that right?
Okay, and do I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay, I got a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. But could we really just do that? Because it's not an agenda item.
You can call a special meeting.
We just don't have to do the vote.
No, I mean, you have to, a special meeting can be called by the mayor. It can be called by the agreement of two commissioners.
Right.
It can be called by the city manager, or in the absence of them, by the city recorder. So you don't have to vote on it tonight. They can put out the notice of the special meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, well, and that's fine. I was just saying, it wasn't an agenda item, and we just took a vote during, so I just, technicality, you know, that's fine. We can call it, but I don't think, because it wasn't on the agenda, you know.
You're fine.
It wasn't,
Don't have to be
you
on the
call a
agenda.
special meeting at any time.
Okay,
Either way you want to do it, you don't have to have a vote. The mayor can call a special
Yeah.
meeting, as long as
That's
it's
what-
12 hours before the meeting.
okay,
The actual agenda item, I think, Mayor, was Tom's report,
yes.
is all under Tom's report.
Okay. Just making sure we're clear. Anything else, Mr. Darty?
I'm sure there is, but unless there's any questions, that's all I have.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Paisley.
I just want to announce the group that's going along with the Starlight Jam is Leaper Forks Bluegrass, and that is next Friday. We also have a mulch day, May 2nd, from 9 till 12. We're asking for volunteers. And then we also have Barks for Parks, May 9th, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So bring a partner out to walk.
Okay. Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you. Oh, wait, Shannon, I'm sorry,
It's not a
Commissioner
question.
Crutcher had a
It's not a
question.
it's not a
Okay.
question. Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to add to the mulch day that Mr. Paisley just spoke about. That's the one I talked about at the last meeting where Cross Point Church is going to, it's an agenda item later on, but where Cross Point Church is going to be doing a serving Saturday, as they call it, here in the park. They're going to be remulching the playground. They put out a little email to me today, actually, and it just says that the scheduled events, it starts at 8 o'clock. They expect to be finishing up around maybe 1. I think that's realistic based off what I've been told by Mr. Basile, Brian Basile. And I think they're going to have some food, games, things like that afterwards. So, but they're saying in the email to me, it just said all community members, regardless of where you go to church or if you go to church, you're welcome to come and participate. So that's May the 2nd.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else out there? Okay, I guess that's it. We're gonna move on. Let's see. We are going to, I'm sitting there trying to think. We need to do the consent agenda. Did anybody have anything they wanted to remove? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Tony needs to read
Mayor,
the caption.
we still have to read the caption.
Oh, okay.
That's okay. Number 8 is the consent agenda consisting of items as follows: approval of the minutes from April the 2nd, 2015 Board of Commissioners public hearing. Item B, approval of the minutes from April 2nd, 2015 Board of Commissioners meeting. C, second reading of Bill number 2015-08, ordinance number 873, and ordinance to amend the City of Fairview, Tennessee's public zoning code, article number 16, section 16-102.5, building permits, and to authorize the non-enforcement of 2009 International Building Codes 105 permit subsection 105.2 work exempt from permit sub-building. Paragraph 1, which has been adopted by the City of Fairview, shall not be enforced by the Codes Department of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, and shall be treated as deleted.
Okay.
Need to vote again?
Do we need, that's what I was gonna ask. We need to
Move to
vote.
approve.
Second.
Okay, first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Sorry about that. How much longer are we gonna have to do that?
If I could reserve that to my
Okay,
comments at
that's
the end,
perfect.
I'll
Okay.
cover it.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yep, perfect. That'll give us old business. Item A, discuss and take action of potential conflict of interest disclosure document. Commissioner Crutcher.
Move to approve.
Second.
This is the engineering firm. Mr. Griggs was here last meeting, talked about the fact that he had been contacted by another engineering firm that was working on the Brownland Farms project. Due to Griggs and Maloney also working for the city, he felt that it was a good idea to come and, I guess, get permission from the city, for lack of a better word, to engage with the engineering firm to work on this project, since he also does work for the city of Fairview. I have read the potential conflict of interest document and have no issue with it.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, this will be the added item, so it would be 9B, discuss and take action on the school donation.
I believe that Commissioner Basile, what's your name on that?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second.
Mayor, if I could.
Yes.
The, everything I know about the program as represented by the principals when they were here is that it's a very positive program, serves some underprivileged children in our particular community. And I would endorse us, if we have any way possible which to fund this, and I'll leave that up to Mr. Doherty, I would endorse us giving them the money that they asked for, just like we did last year in terms of the T-shirts.
Okay, any other discussion?
Just to throw it out there, I know the answer, but Tom, the funds are available in the school fund, am I correct?
Thank you. Yes, but I do want to tell you that we do have a negative balance in the unassigned account. And we also have committed $65,200 of this school facilities fund to go to the library. I also question if this is an object that this fund can be used for. I think this fund is supposed to be used for bricks and mortar, but anyway, I know things have been purchased in the past, like computers and things like that, but I just question the expenditure coming out of that fund.
Yes.
Mayor, thank you. As far as the balance on the books for the school's facilities tax, it shows about a $400,000 balance. However, that's deceiving because of the negative balance in the unassigned general fund. And in fact, if I'm looking at the projections correctly, by the end of the year, we're barely going to have enough, if everything goes as planned, have enough in there to cover state street aid. We would have less, I think, if the numbers work out as projected, less than the $15,000 that the school is asking for in that fund. And if we gave them the full $50,000, we would be dipping into state street aid, I think, based on my math. As much as I want to approve out of anything that we approve to give money to the school, I don't see, one, in our current financial situation, how we can do it. Two, I agree with Tom. I have read the interlocal agreement as well, and I'm not sure, and maybe Mr. Cantrell can give his opinion as to the interlocal agreement. I'm not sure without the county commission approving this money being used for this purpose that it can be used by, as is set forth in the four corners of that document. So again, as much as I would like to approve any time the school comes in here and asks for money, like to approve it, I just don't see how I can.
That's good,
Did
Larry.
you want to comment on that?
Are you referring to the interlocal agreement for the library?
Yes, sir. No,
Yeah.
well, the interlocal agreement
Yeah.
with respect to the school facilities
Right.
tax.
Well, it's very clear when you read the statute that the county cannot use adequate school funds except for bricks and mortars for schools. The cities have a little more flexibility in that. Yours has to be found by the board to be for a public purpose, and the statute itself does not necessarily limit you to bricks and mortar, but it has to be for a public purpose. Absolutely, you have to have a finding that it's a public purpose.
If the statute doesn't limit us, does the contract limit us?
Doesn't really say that, and the state statute would trump the county anyway. By the case laws, supremacy clause, our state constitution doesn't have a supremacy clause. The United States Constitution does, and through the 14th Amendment that applies to the states. So if you find that it is I wouldn't want to take out, the whole fund, but if you find that that's a public purpose, I think I could defend that.
Well, I think the bigger issue, maybe even more so than whether it's an issue with respect to the contract or statute, is just the situation we're in financially.
Well, if you don't have the money, you can't do it anyway.
I think that's the bigger issue.
Mayor, could I ask a question?
Sure.
And it would be directed to Tom based on your not feeling easy about this, I don't believe. If you had the final decision, would you release the money at this time for this purpose?
I would not. and I would want to very badly.
I understand that, and I think every one of us up here definitely would like to give this donation for the purpose. But I'll go back to the point about they came to the last agenda and we didn't know it, and they were added to the agenda that night, and we did tell them we would give them an answer. But in them being here and telling us about all the good uses, what this money was going to be used for, they said that their sponsor that sponsored this last year chose not to sponsor it this year. So I'm not so sure. We just need to just make a possible bad financial decision just because somebody else didn't give them the money that they needed. And I might even question whether or not they petitioned the county to give them money to cover this.
I have a couple comments. Going back to the interlocal agreement, when we originally questioned the money a couple years ago, the staff at the time researched it and called the county and asked if this was a possible use. And we were told it was. The county schools were very grateful for the gift, Williamson County Schools. So whether or not, I mean, I've had a lot of people ask that, if we were using the fund correctly, and that would be something that, you know, I would like to either way be able to put to bed. Now, I feel like that for the most part, if the fund wasn't being used correctly, then it was only by guidance we received, and that is something that we could address. But the county was contacted. We did seek guidance on how the fund could be used, and obviously it's going to a county agency. So it's no secret. We're not trying to, you know, maneuver money in any way that's not supposed to be done. So just with that being said, I wanted to address that. Maybe if we can look into it a little bit more, staff, it would be nice to, you know, lay that one to bed. The other thing is, I would love to give the money more than anything. I did like what Commissioner Sutton said at the last meeting. We had allotted a certain amount for the library. The library did come in cheaper than what we originally planned, and it would be enough to cover. And that, at the time when they came up, I was thinking there would be no way I could justify spending that money. And then when Commissioner Sutton brought that point, it almost gave me a way like, oh, we can give it. Because that money should be used for the schools. We shouldn't be spending the money. It should be there, and it's not their fault that we have been living off the money. And it kills me to have to say no when that money should have been there to be used for the schools. So I'm still torn on what to do, because I do understand that I agree with Tom. I don't think we have an inch we can spare. We're already on a tightrope through the end of the year, and I don't think we should be, I think we need to hold on to every dime. It puts us in a difficult situation, because I know personally this program is a great program, and it is affecting students in a positive way. And but I know that they need an answer tonight, and so at some point we're going to have to make a decision.
May I ask
Yes.
a common question? Tom, was the budget that we're talking about now, was it adjusted after we got the quote in from the 90-something thousand to the 60-something thousand, or is that number still in the budget as the original obligation that we had to the library?
Let me look real quick.
Okay. Because I, like everyone else, would like to see it go for the right cause and right thing. But if it's not there, it's just not there, period.
This money has not been appropriated yet. In my opinion, I don't see anything appropriated to the
Library fund.
to the library. Yeah, that's something we're gonna have to do, and I'm hoping it's gonna be in the next budget.
So the library fund money is not showing what we're seeing for the end of the year.
It's not in our budget. Not
Okay.
in our budget numbers.
Well, any more discussion?
No.
All in favor? Opposed? Nay.
For the record, I'd like to be known as abstaining.
Okay. Okay, so we will move on.
Sorry about that. Under new business, item A, discussion or take action on a local agreement between Williamson County, Tennessee, and the city of Fairview, Tennessee, for the provision of animal control services. Commissioner Crutcher.
Move to approve.
Second.
And I'm going to defer to Mr. Cantrell. I think this is the animal pickup he wanted so badly to tell us about last meeting.
Yeah, I had the animal pickup on my mind and got off on the wrong song, but basically this is an interlocal agreement between the city of Fairview and the county for them to pick up, to answer animal calls, strays, running loose or whatever. I've reviewed the contract, and it's typical of most interlocal agreements. There's a way either party can get out with notification. It's not abnormally long. I don't have I don't tell anyone that the city doesn't, to my knowledge, have any staff for that, nor do they have any equipment for it. And for the price you're paying, you're getting a good deal. And from a legal standpoint, I have no problem with the agreement. It looks good, and it appears that you're getting a value for your money.
Is this, pardon me, is this the $11,000 contract?
Yes.
Okay.
It may be 11 something, but it's 11,000-ish.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion? First and a second? Okay, just double checking. Okay, my question would be, this is currently the same amount we're already paying?
Was 5,000, wasn't it?
Was 5 and it went up? Okay.
I don't know that we have a lot of choice in this one.
So I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Did we budget 5,000 for this and it's gone up? Is this what happened? Is that what happened?
Yes, it was $5,500 this past year, and it's going to be $11,000. What'd you say, $23? This next budget year.
Next budget year.
And I believe, I stand to be corrected, that they've changed their policies on picking up animals and removing skunks, things like this right here. I don't think they do that anymore. Am I correct? I believe I am.
The city, it changed their policy,
No,
or the county? Okay.
Animal control's changed their policy on that. So I think they're doing less now than what they were doing before.
Well, and I guess one of the things, I mean, maybe Keith, you can help us out with. How often, I mean, are we removing any animals? I mean, there was mentioned in a meeting earlier that that's where that property on Dice Lane is where we would put animals.
Yeah, we remove the dead animals on the side of the road. That's.
Okay.
But
And then this is, without being said, yeah, I mean.
It's just carcasses is all we take care of. We don't take care of any animal control whatsoever.
Yeah.
I don't think we're qualified for it, or whatever the case may be under the state, it's required. That's kind of, we're over a barrel as far as getting that done, as far as rebate reports and such that. So-
Right, and they work with the citizens as far as allowing them to use traps to catch wild animals, to get them off their property and stuff. And I do know that they've actually improved their shelter a little bit, and it's more of a non-kill shelter than most of the county surrounding us, so.
Yeah.
Did that give us any reason for more than doubling what it was? They just said we're going to, it's a mute point, basically. We got
Times are rough.
What
It's
Ms.
a
Graham-
government agency.
What Ms. Graham told me is they had done a study, and they had not gone up in several years, and that's what the number they came up with. That was the explanation I received.
And I do think they're utilized a lot out in Fairview. I don't know the numbers, but I mean, I do think it's a service that our community, if you use it, if you look at even like social media and reading posts of lost animals and picked up animals, and so I would say that, as somebody mentioned earlier, we're not really in the situation to take on this service. So for right now, we're probably best to bite the bullet and move forward. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That gives us B, discuss and take action of Bill 2015-13.
Ordinance number 878, an ordinance to amend the City of Fairview, Tennessee Municipal Code, Title 5, Municipal Finance and Taxation, Chapter 6, Adequate Facilities Tax, Section 5-602, Tax Established. Commissioner Johnson.
Move for approval.
Second.
I'll yield the floor to the attorney.
This ordinance, in a nutshell, all it does is, it's under the title of tax established. This tax has been established for a long time. The only thing that this does is raise the rate on residential from 25 cents per, 100 square feet, 1,000 square feet to 50 cents. If you remember back, 3 or 4 months ago, we raised it on the commercial from 50 to 75 cents. But that's not, it's in there, but that's not what you're enacting. You're just enacting an increase on the residential property. And that's within the bounds of the Public Acts, which establish this tax. It's also certainly within the bounds of the Relief Act of 2006, the County Relief Act. So, you know, that's up to you if there's, as to where you pass or not, but that's all it does.
Okay.
Mayor, the city manager has.
Okay. Mr. Hall?
Yes, I would like to just say that this is comparable to Spring Hill, and we're kind of mirrored after that, so that's what this is comparable to.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
This is new construction only, correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Kusher.
Mayor, City Manager Hall, when you say comparable, is it the same or is it just close to the same?
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
And also, if I may, also, Mr. Kressner, it was like the one on the commercial. This hasn't been raised since it was implemented. That was 12 years ago, roughly 12 years ago.
So this is affecting residential only, this part of the
new residential,
new residential. I guess my question is, and this may be a question that I have with respect to this and the next few agenda items. I know we're looking for ways to raise revenue, and this is probably one area that we should certainly take a look at. I guess my question is, though, as we all know, and as has been discussed in the Finance Committee and with the BOC, some of these things the contractors are going to pass on to the end user or the purchaser of these homes. And as we also know, any of these things are going to raise the price per square foot more than likely. I guess at what point do we do things such as adding impact fees to where we make the price of a house so much in Fairview that it's comparable to a house in Spring Hill somewhere else in the county, and we're no longer really, we're sort of pricing ourselves out of the market, I guess. I'm not saying I'm opposed to this, I'm just trying to figure out, you know, we are sort of unique, and I know we're looking for ways to raise revenue rather. If we're gonna do this plus an impact, one, I'm concerned about, I know the local builder is gonna pass it on to the end user, but what impact does it have on the local builder on the front end? And two, when do we price ourselves out of the market and sort of stop seeing growth, maybe to the level we want to see growth? I don't know that anybody has the answer to those questions, but those are my concerns.
Any other discussions or comments?
Mayor, if I could ask Mr. Hall, I think you may have provided this at a previous meeting, but how much in raising this to 25 cents on the average home that we're currently having built on these 9 or so permits built in April, how much would this be added per house?
Per house will be about $500.
$500.
Yes.
I didn't want to give the wrong figure, but I thought that. So it's going to change the price of a $200,000 house. It's going to add $500.
Yeah, and then this wouldn't be obviously as big of a deal, I don't guess. But
to make you feel better, I'm going to ask for the impact fee thing to be tabled.
Okay.
If that makes you feel any better.
Well, yeah, I'm just concerned about doing both. You know,
I might also,
the impact it may have, no pun intended.
That's right.
I might also add that Larry checked into the situation with, I was hoping that this could go into the general fund. It cannot. It has to go into a fund to pay for capital projects or for, like, pay for this building. So
okay.
It'll be kind of, if we do the restructuring, it'll be a fund there that we can possibly pay that note for with this increase. Hopefully it'll pay it off. You know, in the meantime, we have enough growth to take care of it.
And if it's germane, I guess, it's been a while, but the last time I checked, the average price of a home in Fairview was around $180,000 to $190,000, compared to about $275,000 in Spring Hill, compared to about $400,000 in Franklin, and Brentwood was higher than that. So
sure.
We would have to raise it an awful lot to do much damage to our reputation as being good housing value.
Yeah. Like I said, I wasn't as concerned about this one as I was where we're about to head, or where I thought we were about to head, and I knew that would have a bigger, like I said, a bigger impact than this one would. So
that's why I wanted to tell you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I kind of feel like that these are ways that we're, in the finance meeting, we are looking for ways that we could not only come up with revenue without having to tax existing residents, but also we're under the curve, and building is really about to take off, and the time is now to consider this, because it's going to be a little late when we have a huge subdivision with 640 homes to go back and, there is even not going to I hate to go on the impact, but when these developers come in and these builders, they're impacting our city, they're impacting our roads, and so I don't feel as bad. I don't want to price this out where builders can't build, but I don't feel as bad about making these changes, because I feel like in the long run, it will put us in a better situation where maybe we do have that extra revenue, maybe we can pay off our buildings sooner and put us in a better situation. So just with that being said, any other discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And then we're at C, discuss and take action of bill number 2015/14.
Ordinance number 879, ordinance to amend the City of Fairview, Tennessee's Municipal Code, Title 5, Municipal Finance and Taxation, Chapter 6, Adequate Facility Tax, Section 5-604, Use of Tax. Commissioner Johnson.
Move for approval.
Second.
Mayor, I yield the floor to the attorney once again.
Thank you, Commissioner. This ordinance, while there's a lot of verbiage there because we had to carry through what was not being changed to get to what we were changing. But all it does is assign the proceeds from this tax to what the statute allows. Now, what the statute allows is you can use facilities tax. It's not as limited as impact fees. You can use it for any capital project that is future. And this one was already earmarked to pay for this building, and in light of the fact that we may restructure, if you don't, I won't have to change the ordinance. It's fully amendable through second reading, but I included in that it was assigned, it had been previously assigned to pay for this building, and I added the verbiage to allow it to be to any future holder of this, because it was properly assigned at the time the building was being built to pay for it. So we just took it over so that if it goes to some other holder of that indebtedness, you can carry that right on through with it without any problem.
Okay, any other discussion?
Mayor, if I could, just for
Sure.
history, I'll take about 30 seconds. I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this or not, but the initial legislation in allowing Fairview to enact an adequate facilities tax was enacted by private chapter 121 in 1987. It was subsequently brought up again by private chapter 150 in 1998. And the last time that it was dealt with was in 2005 by TCA 67-4-2913, which was the County Powers Relief Act, which actually didn't do too much relief to the county. They can no longer add impact fees after June 20th, 2006, but it gave the city the authority to, if you came out from under the private act, to go to this, and you'd lose some of those limitations, but we're well within the limitations, so we don't have any problem. I just wanted to throw that out there for education on the adequate facilities tax background.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that would be D, discuss and take action setting / raising impact fee. Commissioner Johnson.
Mayor, I'm going to make a motion to table this till sometime in the future.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Would you mind elaborating on what your thoughts? I mean, I heard you say earlier, but.
Right now, we do not have funds appropriated to pay for the study to be done. So there's really, at this time, there's no sense in discussing it. And I'm saying we do need to look at it in the future, but tonight or anytime soon, I don't think is the appropriate time.
Okay, Mr. Hall, can you tell me how much it would cost to do the study?
The figure that I've heard is somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000.
Okay.
So I think Larry's got something on that
Okay, go
too.
ahead.
I asked Mr. Hall if he minded if I did some research on this, and it's since you're not going to enact it, and I'm not going to be doing anything other than research, I would like to pass along what I found out, although the city is not going to be charged for this. I agree with his figure. What I found out was when I started talking to different persons in different cities, I was trying to find cities that were sized similar to Fairview, and of course, there's so many formulas that goes in this, and there's so much information that has to go into this. How many houses you've got, how many miles of road have you got, and I'm bringing this up just in case when you do this later that maybe some of us will still be here that depending on when you do it, and we'll remember that most places do it on road impact fees. I think it would be wiser for the city the size of Fairview and some of the cities that I talked with that you include as part of your study the road impact fees, the property of the police department, property of the fire department, because those things are going to have an impact on everybody. Maybe your parks, because you could do it by a percentage. You could have 5 different fees, but I think it would be smart. They can determine this. The impact fees this much, this percentage goes to parks, this percentage goes to police, this type of thing, because those funds have to be spent on the impact in the area in which the building is going on. So hopefully the people who are causing the most impact are paying at least more than what it would be if it's spread over everybody, of the money that's necessary to abate that impact that it has on your facilities. And certainly I think the police department, fire department, probably the parks, would have an impact on everybody. And the roads maybe not as much. I mean, on everybody, it may be just in that area. The figures that I got from people, and some of these go back, you need to think about when you do this as to how much the growth is going on during a 3, 5, 10-year period. Because some of these entities I talked to admitted that they had not, this was done 10 years ago. Mine was done 5 years ago. So when you draft an ordinance, it'd probably be good to include in that ordinance, you can always amend it, that this thing be updated every 5 years, 4 years, whatever you think is necessary. The other thing is that in all the cases, the people that I talked to, and I talked with several, there's done a whole lot of people in this type of business. The ones that I got most was Duncan and Associates out of Texas. They seem to do everybody's and do a real good job. But I heard figures anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000. So depending, I think the ones that was 30 was ones that was done a long while ago, but the 60s or 50s. But I think that would be, I don't think you're going to get less than 30, and I hope you wouldn't get more than 60. But since I had that while it was fresh on my mind, I just wanted to pass it along to the board.
And would you explain, would this be something that would be, could we do commercial and, I mean, it would include commercial and developer, like residential, or is it just commercial?
No, it's just an impact fee.
Okay.
And if you've got a house that's so many square feet.
But you can do the same for commercial developments.
Oh, yeah, they draw
And that wouldn't, yeah, you wouldn't have to get all the residential, yeah.
I do have a question that I thought about last time we talked about this, and it popped back up tonight. Is this a one-time deal that they do this, or is it per development, or is it, how's that done?
It's a one-time deal when they get their building permit.
Per lot.
Per lot.
Well, no, I know how the fees assessed, but I'm talking about the study. Is it a one-time study?
No, sir, that's the reason I said it would need to be updated, unless your city becomes stagnant. If you're adding 5 houses a year, certainly not. But if you're adding 200 to 300, as those costs change, I've seen them, some of them that had in their ordinances, they updated them every, and I spoke with the people, every 3 years. If you've got a really rapid growth, the numbers that plug into those formulas are going up, and you need to let them pay their, whatever effect it has on it, everybody be paying their fair share. The older it gets, the further you are away from when these were established, more chance you've got of somebody challenging your impact fee.
But initially, it's one payment.
Initially, and then, so it's something that would need to be reviewed over time, not
Yes.
necessarily because there's a development over here and then a new development over here.
Right.
It would just
If you do it like, and then if you do it like every 3 years, and then if your town settles down, your population went up 500 in a year, you could maybe back off the 3 years and go into a 10-year cycle.
Gotcha.
That would be your decision. But I mean, if you had 8,600 citizens in 5 years from now, you had 9,000. There's no need in reviewing it during that time.
Well, and I think I was originally not really thinking about residential. I was thinking about impact fees for commercial, like these, big box that come in. I know one thing that I heard later, that Walmart walked away going, I can't believe how inexpensive we got out. There's hardly any fees. So, I mean, I think as commercial development comes, that's, more the direction, I think we should look at. But it still would cost the same to do a study for commercial.
Yeah, what you'd want to do, I think, is while they're here, is have it done, an impact fee for commercial and residential, and then you can enact it whenever you want to.
Mayor,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Johnson, we talked about it before. What's some of the figures for the lots in, say, Franklin and Spring Hill that they're charging at this time?
In Franklin, they range anywhere from $4,000 to $20,000, I've heard, depending on which section of town you're in. The Spring Hill, I'm not familiar with.
I've heard about the same fee. That's a lot of money that's coming in, and people, they can't build them fast enough in Franklin to get in there. And, you know, we're not that far away from where we're at. I mean, our square footage, I may be wrong about this too, but is cost per square foot is a lot lower here than it is in Franklin or in Spring Hill. A lot of this is the lot that we're dealing with. So sooner or later, we need to do it because that's what's going to spur the growth in police department, fire department, the road department, things, those things. It's going to have to be changed as growth comes along. And if they're paying it now in other places, I don't think it's going to drive them away from me. I think I've had discussions with some builders. You've had some discussion with some builders, and it's phenomenal what they have to pay in other cities to build these $200,000-300,000 houses. So I agree that we should wait till this finance we're able to do this study, but I think we should do it as soon as possible.
Well, and it's one of those things that I must think, I know we don't physically have the money this year, but maybe it would be something that the city staff could put in the budget for next year. And we don't have to make that decision tonight, but as you do budget talks, if we're gonna pay $40,000 or $50,000 next year and we end up doing the debt restructure, then maybe next year where we're not having to make, huge payments on our debt, we might be able to add that in, yes.
You made me think of one other question. If we invested $40,000 or $50,000, how long would it be before we actually saw a return on that investment?
Soon. Wouldn't take that long.
Didn't I hear we would collect it, or would we not? Is that what I heard?
We would collect it per building permit.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, once we pay that $40,000 or $50,000, how long does it take to do the study? I guess is what I'm asking. And
okay.
In relation to when we pay, and then how long in relation to when we pay will we start seeing some money come in?
I didn't specifically ask them as to how long it took them to do the study, but looking at the information's in there, I would say it's a minimum of 6 months study because there's an awful lot of information to be. Now, some of it they can get from the city. Your street funds is going to show how many miles of road we've got in the city. But there's several things that will help them, and they might be able to cut that down. But I think it typically would probably be around 6 months.
And I guess just looking at the number, it wouldn't take many houses after that was done to pay for it.
If you cut the 25 and a half and said 12 and a half on average here,
so pretty quick.
You're talking about, 3 houses, 4 houses.
Well, even if we use the figures on the low side of the $4,000 fee in Franklin.
10 houses.
Just say we've had 9 houses already this month, that'd have been $36,000.
Yeah, it needs to move on.
So you would see the return in the same fiscal year as the year you invest the money, for sure.
You would see your return as soon as your building permits come in, because
Right.
they pay a check right then when they get their building permit.
Or they don't get it.
Sit-
And
what-
I
let me-
really don't think it's going to deter these $250,000, $350,000 houses. Not when they got to pay it wherever they go.
Now, Commissioner Crutcher did bring something up about the developers or builders upfront cost, and I spoke with a couple of them, and they say that there are cities, not in Williamson County, but other cities they've built in, that payment has been deferred until closing. And so I would,
Well, that
so.
That'd be
Helpful.
friendly.
Okay, well, your motion was to table it.
We're going to let them work through the budget process, and hopefully this will be part of next year in a couple of months.
So we
Okay, well, should we not, I think I would like to make a motion to go ahead and move forward with it, but to be in next year's budget. That way it can go through the process, because even time we go through it, then we're still missing out.
If we can get more information on the people that's going to do the process for us, to tell us how long it's going to be, whatever the case, that's going to give us however long it's going to take, because they're going to bill us at the end of that.
I was going to say a payment schedule from them would be something that would be something
looked at.
needed, and if we could,
So-
if they could start the study now and get payment next fiscal year, then
That would be one way to look at it, so.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
we're on the,
He's going to table it. Maybe we can bring it back on the next agenda. Is that too soon on the
I'll
first?
see what I can find out and have it on the first agenda in May.
Okay. I don't need to do anything if he tabled his, okay. Yes, you have something, you have words of wisdom. Go ahead.
You'll just have to make a motion to bring it off the table when it comes up to
Okay.
that time.
I make a motion to.
Second.
Okay.
No, I don't think he meant right now. I think he meant when we wanted.
Yeah.
You vote on, you make a motion to table, you vote on that, and then you won't have to reintroduce it. You just make a motion to bring it off the table when you get ready to consider.
Okay. So we still need to vote on
Need a motion
tabling
on
it.
the table.
Okay.
Second, we're ready to go.
Okay, we're ready. All in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that gives us E, discuss and take action on agreement for fireworks display, Commissioner Bissell.
Thank you, Mayor. I defer to Ms. Johnson or Ms. Herrera, who's going to handle that.
I guess that would be me. This is the same price for the fireworks show that we've done in the past few years. We are looking for sponsors and have received a couple positive responses thus far, and anticipate several more.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second discussion.
Mayor, I think our attorney has some corrections to the contract.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I read the contract, and it doesn't appear to be a whole lot of difference in the verbiage from the one they had last year, but there's a couple of things that bother me. Up at the start, it says this agreement made this 13th day of April. That will need to be changed to today's date because the board can't possibly legally approve this before they met. The third line down where it says, we're the customer city of Fairview with its principal place of business at 511 West 2nd Street in Morristown, Tennessee. That needs to be changed to our address. The only other thing that really bothers me about it is at the bottom. I have no problem with, by the charter and if the board chooses to pass this, the mayor would have the authority to sign this on behalf of the city as a customer. I would suggest we check with them, and that last section there where the city has to get citizens to guarantee the payment, that just goes away because when you sign this on behalf of the city, you're ipso facto pledging the full faith and credit of the taxing power and all the equity that the city has to pay $2,970-something. And now if they do have a problem with this, we could always escrow that $2,970 with the bank if they would hold it made payable to them, and when the stuff arrives, and we could pay them. But I just don't, I don't think, one, that I know the city can't be a guarantor for somebody's debts, and I don't think we want to go around from a practical standpoint asking citizens to guarantee the city's debts. So I would suggest that be changed, that the dates be changed for the implementation, and that we have our address on there, and then I have no problem with the contract.
Mayor, if I can, I'd like to offer an amendment to amend the motion to be approved upon the enactment of all changes requested by the city attorney.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second on the amended motion. Any discussion?
I have some questions, and I know this is just to approve the contract, but how much did you say the total was? I thought I read 5,500 somewhere. It's 5,500.
But what, you have to pay half of it.
Oh, okay, I see.
When you place your order, the other half, when you receive the order, and I just quickly divided 5,500 by 2, and I do $2,700.
I understand,
something,
gotcha.
yes.
I follow you.
And I don't think we need to have guarantors for it.
No, I agree.
Especially not citizens. I wouldn't, if they have a problem with thinking we won't pay them, I wouldn't have any problem if they escrowed the money to the bank and have the bank hold them and notify them when it gets it, and they mail it to them. But I think that we should just try to eliminate that whole section.
I know Ms. Johnson, I had sent out some requests for sponsorship. I saw a friend of mine that had one this week, and I know there's probably some sponsorship money coming in. How much have we received so far?
We haven't actually received it, but I received confirmation of $2,000.
So $2,000. And what is the latest that we can sign this contract?
We need to go ahead and do it so they can order the materials.
Okay. How much was last year's event total?
Fireworks was the same. We actually, what did we net on last year's event? Do you remember? We paid out very little based on the contributions we received last year.
Contribution and fees for the vendor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had 12,000 in the line item, and I think we went over that just a little bit, but we also had a vendor set up that we did not address with the event at all that would have put us in the black. So, you know, our goal as city staff is to host events, not fund events. So
This is another one of those things that I'm probably not gonna be very popular tonight. I'm not talking about schools and fireworks, and I love this event. I think this event is excellent. I've come to it every year. It's great, and I know that we probably collect, you know, most of the money, if not all of the money, to put this thing on, and I want to see it happen this year. But when we can't give, and I know we're talking about a different fund, but when we can't find $15,000 to give to the school, but we can find whatever this event may cost hypothetically if we didn't collect a single penny from anybody, it's hard for me to chew, to shoot fireworks off. And again, I know it's a great event, and I want us to have it, but how much did we collect last? We covered the whole cost last year?
We covered all the fireworks last year,
Well, I'm
definitely.
not talking just the fireworks. I mean, the fireworks are part of the deal, but
I don't have that on me, but
you don't know.
I believe we did after with the police event. They brought in a substantial amount over there.
So we funded the entire event last year by outside
It was
costs?
pretty close. I'm
Pretty close within 1,000, pretty close within 500, pretty close.
if I would say within 500, but I don't have the numbers right in front of me. But I can get. We were really within 1,000 for sure.
So it cost a little over 12,000, and we paid out of city money less than 500.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know, like I said, I know tonight we're just talking about the fireworks part, but if we're on the hook for the fireworks, we're going to kind of have to be on the hook for the rest. So I kind of wanted to know the big picture before I voted one way or the other.
Well, based on what you're saying, not necessarily. We could just host just a fireworks show. Now, I don't think that's what we want to do, but if it came down to it, we could just have the fireworks and that's it. I don't think that's what any of us want, but just because we voted on this tonight doesn't mean we have to do everything else.
Those are my questions.
Okay, and I don't think we're gonna have trouble covering the fireworks. I think Ms. Johnson did a great job last year, and the fireworks were covered. I do think there's areas we can cut if we needed to, and we can take a look at some of those areas as we move through. I mean, sure, I hate spending a dime right now, but you know, I think this is a great community event, and I think we can work really hard and be, you know, diligent with the money that we can have it all covered. It's just going to take help. So if y'all know anybody that wants to donate, that would be a good way to give back an enjoyable night to the city. So any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that brings us to discuss and take action on expiring seats, and that is me. And basically, Brandy had brought to my attention that we had some seats that were coming up. So this is more just a discussion. There's no action going to be made, so I'm not going to, I'll just kind of go over once I find. Do you have that right up where you can read the seats, let the citizens know? Ah, here it is.
You got it? I didn't.
Yeah, 10F. Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, I'll catch up to you.
But we don't have to take an action. She's just going to run an ad, right, saying there's open seats. So this is just more informational. It looks like we have one planning commission seat that expires 6/30/15, and that is Mr. Dowdy's. Board of Zoning and Appeals that expires one seat, 6/30/15. Industrial Development Board, one seat, Mr. Hall, expiring 6/30/15. Beer Board, Richard Biggs, expiring 6/30/15, and there's one seat on that one also. Park Commission, Mr. Edmondson, expiring 6/30/15. Jack Cannon, expiring 6/30/15. So we got 2 seats coming up on the Park Commission. Yes.
Mayor, I hate to break your rhythm, but I think the Park Commission seats are filled by other organizations. I don't think they're a direct assignment from us.
Right, it's appointed by those organizations. I guess if they can redo it. I mean, it's just coming up, so I guess if somebody was interested in the spot and somebody wanted to step down, they could voice that and start the new term.
I don't see Mr. Rowe, but I'll make sure that he knows to put that on our next, at least cover that in our next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tree Board, Mr. Cannon expiring 6/30/15. Tree Board, Ms. Woodall, expiring 6/30/15. Board of Adjustment and Appeals, Mr. Beata Jr., expiring 6/19/15. And Mrs. Shivers expiring 6/19/15. And Mr. Lohman expiring 6/19/15. So out of those seats, Commissioner Vassell, the only one that would be in that situation is the park. The rest will need to be advertised, is that correct?
That's what I think, Mayor. I don't know about the others, but I do know the park is filled by other committees and commissions providing people.
Yeah, I think we do. We advertise them enough notice prior to that so we can get the applications in and review the applications. One thing, we had a problem the last time we filled a lot of seats was people that were already on the seats didn't really turn in another application or express. I think they need to turn something back into us also so that they can be a part of the pool rather than just saying, yeah, I'll do it again or whatever the case may be. So I'd like to make sure that they get proper notice if they'd like to reapply for that seat. That's all I've got.
I agree. I think, as I probably have said many times, many years, it's very important that we give the opportunity to the people that they want to keep serving, because I went up on the Planning Commission one year and no one bothered to tell me, so I didn't know to submit the application. So let's make sure that we are giving everybody a fair shot, even if it is, the person that currently holds the seat. So,
I mean, to me, those people can just send a letter of intent to reapply, and we know who they are. So that's all I've got. Whatever everybody wants, either they can do another application or just send a letter of intent to reapply. That'd be good enough for me.
Just a letter that they want to be considered, I feel is appropriate.
yeah, I agree. Okay, with no discussion or no vote being taken, we'll move on to discuss and take action on broadcasting videos of the meeting/workshop. Commissioner?
You skipped G.
Oh, gee, I marked it off. Okay, discuss and take action of Bill 2015/12.
Ordinance number 877, an ordinance for an amendment to the City of Fairview, Tennessee budget for fiscal year 2014-2015 budget park fund for mulch replacement slide. Commissioner Crutcher.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mayor, this is a budget amendment. It is to, I talked some about the mulching project on the playground at Bowie Nature Park earlier. This is where the city is going to pay for one half out of the Bowie fund, park fund rather, for the mulch. This Cross Point Church will pay for the other half, so I guess it's sort of a 50-50 grant. where we're going to cover half of it, plus they're going to provide the manpower to spread that. We also had a slide that, as I understand it, from Brian Bassell, that was damaged in the park by one of our high schoolers. It's my understanding that the city has reached out to that individual, and he intends on reimbursing the city for the damage. However, we're left with a broken slide in the meantime, which is a safety issue, as is the depth of the mulch over there. So both of these are to fix safety issues at the nature park. So that's what this is.
Okay, do we have a motion on the floor?
We got first and second, I think.
Yeah, we did that right from the beginning.
Okay, just checking, because we had the little, me reading the wrong one. Okay, any other discussion? So this would come out of the park fund. And Mr. Daugherty, are we good with that?
Yes, that's the only place we can do it. I think, yes, the money's there, and I think that's what it's meant to pay for.
Okay, and all the things that we already have designated out of the park fund, there's still the money.
Yes, I believe it'll still be over $170,000 in the park fund after this appropriation.
Okay, yes.
I do have one more thing to add. When the church reimburses us, this will go back in, the half will go back into the park fund, as will the money that's reimbursed from the child. So I wanted to make sure that was understood.
So y'all are fixing the slide that day and we're waiting to get
No.
reimbursed? Oh,
No,
okay.
the church is not involved in fixing the slide. I think that's something that park staff will handle.
Okay.
But instead of doing 2 budget amendments, we did 1 budget amendment to make this, easier.
Just to let you know that there is a safety concern. It is one of the things that when I have my state visits, we are rated on as far as playground safety and having to have a certain amount of mulch because it helps protect the kids as they fall, which we know that is possible. So just with that on the record, I still hate paying for anything out of the park fund, but I think it's a very generous gift that we're going to receive, and I'd hate to miss the opportunity. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we're to H, discuss and take action on broadcasting and / recording of meetings / workshops.
Thank you, Mayor. I had asked that this be put on the agenda to move, actually, for the city attorney to draft a resolution making it the policy of the city that all meetings, special meetings, and workshops, and I think that's what's been missing, of all boards, commissions, and committees, be televised or alternatively recorded if television is not available and made available on the city website. That's what I'm asking to be done.
Okay, do you have a motion?
That's what I just made, a motion to do that. And if I need to restate that, I can.
Just to make it move along a little bit, that would be all with the exception of executive committee.
Absolutely.
Make it part of that, yeah, because you said all.
Okay, we have a...
Which I guess any executive session would be away from a regularly scheduled meeting anyway, right?
That's correct. Any executive session, you're limited as to what you can consider, but there's, it's privileged, there's no notes taken, there's no recordings.
Sure. Yeah, but I agree. We do need to clarify that obviously that would be something that would be excluded.
Right.
Out of this. So I amend my motion to state that to add that to that.
Okay, I second. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Discuss and take action procedures of Board of Commissioners to engage city attorney. Commissioner Crutcher.
Thank you, Mayor. Under our city charter, specifically Section 6-21-108, the city manager is the only person in the charter that I have found that has the ability to engage, supervise, and control the work of the city attorney, not the BOC. And I submit that it's not appropriate for any member of this board or any person other than the city manager or a person that the city manager has directed to contact the city attorney without approval of this board to do so. So what I'm doing is I would like to move that a resolution be drafted that making it the policy of the city that no member of the BOC or other commission, board, or committee for that matter shall direct the city attorney or engage the city attorney to draft any ordinance, resolution, or otherwise any other document that has not been first brought before this board, just like I did with the previous resolution, and voted on and received a majority vote.
Okay, we have a first.
And I will say this, as part of that, quickly, and this may be better suited for discussion, but I'll go ahead and say it. There's another section in our code that does give us the ability to contact the city attorney with legal questions about, I guess, procedural issues and that sort of, that's not what this is dealing with. This is, what my motion is, this resolution would be specifically dealing with drafting ordinances, drafting resolutions that has never been discussed with the BOC.
Okay, we got a first. Is there a second? I second it. Discussion.
I have a question. In applying this, therefore, you said the city manager or his delegate. So could I contact the city manager and him authorize me to contact the city attorney directly?
Not according to the way he's drafting it. Just must be approved by the Board of Commissioners.
I really don't think, under the existing charter, that it's appropriate for any member of this board to contact the city attorney and task him with drafting a document that we have never voted on as a board, that we've never seen, never heard about, never talked about. I don't think that we have the authority under our charter as it exists to do that. I think the only person that does have that authority is Mr. Hall. And if one of us, if we're going to unilaterally contact Mr. Hall and have Mr. Hall contact the city manager, or excuse me, the city attorney to draft whatever document it is you may want to have drafted, then I would suggest that be put in writing to Mr. Hall so that there's no question about the source of who it is asking that be done, and maybe even what it is you're wanting and the purpose.
I think it happens just like that, what you just stated, except just the opposite. I think commissioners have contacted the attorney over the 15 years I've been here, and the attorney always, before he does the work, gets with the city manager to get approval. So he doesn't do work without approval of the city manager. He lets the city manager know that Commissioner so-and-so has asked for so-and-so, and that's how it's worked. So if that communication is not there, I can't speak to that. But as far as my knowledge of the years that even the C.D. Berry that was attorney before Mr. Cantrell and Mr. Peterson, they both operated the same way. So
I just don't think it would have been appropriate for me to unilaterally contact Mr. Cantrell this week and say, hey, Mr. Cantrell, I'd like some resolutions drawn up dealing with these two things that I'm talking about, the last one that I just talked about and this one, without having this board ever voted on it, to engage him to do that. I don't think that I have the unilateral authority to spend taxpayer dollars and engage the city attorney to draft documents that's not been approved by this board, to at least, or maybe not the document itself, but that we haven't agreed to engage Mr. Cantrell to draft that document.
What about things like budget amendments, stuff like that, how do you contracts, things that you're actually, in essence, what you're doing is you're adding a second or a third meeting to some pretty routine items.
Well, I'm talking about, I think I specifically said ordinances and resolutions. I don't think a contract would fall under that scenario. I don't
But a
think
budget amendment would.
A budget amendment would, or would it? I see. So that wouldn't fall under that. I didn't know that. I just learned that.
So you're not trying, your pending legislation is to limit us, not to limit what staff does.
No, I think that, and that's the part that I think I was getting at earlier when I said at the direction of Mr. Hall. I wasn't talking about us contact the city attorney at the direction of Mr. Hall. I was talking about if Mr. Hall, the city manager, gives someone on his staff the task of contacting the city attorney about a budget amendment or otherwise, then I think he has the authority to do that. I don't think that we can do.
I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, I know. I don't think we can do an end around by saying, well, we contacted Mr. Hall, and then, we get in here and there's this amendment, and or this item in front of us that we never heard of, never seen before, and then say, well, I contacted Mr. Hall, and Mr. Hall said contact the city attorney, but I don't know. I'm just giving that as an example. I'm not saying that's what's happened. I'm just saying.
So is the rub the cost incurred, or the fact that we went ahead and had the document prepared so we could talk final rather than talk conceptual, first read, second read? Is it the money?
I think it's both. I think it's both. I think the money is the bigger issue, because we have unilaterally at that point engaged the city attorney, and it's costing us money to have him draft that document. And two, it just seems like we're trying to hide the ball a little bit. If you want something drafted by the city attorney, bring it before the board, just like I did these resolutions. Let us vote. If we get a majority vote, Mr. Cantrell will be glad, and then it's all above board. Mr. Cantrell will be glad to go and draft that, bill the city appropriately, and then it's back before the board.
And I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything, but hadn't been too long ago, seems like I got some feedback that we didn't like talking about things in the air. We wanted to see something in writing in front of us. And so to me, that's the same thing. If you're going to talk about an ordinance or something that you want to change, I'd a lot rather have had the chance to read what the ordinance says, or the format, or all the nuances, because they're never in plain English. They're in language y'all understand, and so it's helpful to me that we go to the city attorney and say we're going to present this, and that we actually have it in front of us, much like you were giving me feedback on my numbers, that you would prefer to have them in front of you rather than talking conceptually in the air. I have a hard time following the way our conversations go with things, I'll add something, Tony will add something, the mayor will have a comment, and it's never, somebody has to filter through it. So there's an other side to this. That's why I was wondering, was the real underlying issue the fact that it may cost the city money for something that's not approved?
I think it's both, and I disagree respectfully that it's the same as me saying, hey, I'd like to have this in writing from these commissions when it comes up, because what would happen in that scenario is these commissions and boards and other groups would discuss things. It would come up here, and then we would say, well, so-and-so said this at that commission meeting.
No, I agree with you on that. I was referencing when, at the Finance Committee, when I started talking about my concept and the numbers, you requested, and I'm going to address that a little later, but you wanted to see hard copy,
right,
so that you could follow my thoughts. Well, I have the same issue with written words in ordinances. I would prefer to see the hard copy of the ordinance. So to me, it's kind of I don't understand the difference. If we ask Larry to do it, to me the only difference is two things. One, we don't play the game of I tell somebody and somebody tells somebody and it doesn't look like what I had intended to start off with. The second part of it is we're actually able to work from a document. And it seems to me that we save a reading. We also save some cost ultimately, because the initial cost to me is probably a lower cost to have a written document to work from. So that the only thing that we actually save by doing it this way is if the board has no intention of doing that motion at all.
Well,
and so I'm just trying to understand.
I know.
Right?
And I think there's a difference between what I'm proposing and me asking you to show me your work when we're throwing out, there's 200,000 here and we got 2.4 million here, and then there's this, and this, and you add this. That's hard to follow. What I'm saying is that if we, I don't know what the problem is with us giving off the appearance that we're trying to do something right and do it above board and not trying to hide the ball. Because whether we're doing that or not, and I'm not saying that we are, I don't think that anybody is attempting to do that intentionally. But if it gives the public the appearance that you're trying to do that, then why not do something to try to fix it? Why not do something to try to fix that perception? I mean, I know we've all read the Observer this week. I know that we've read all these articles. And it gives the appearance when something is before this board for the first time, and we're up here having a debate, and I have to make the statement, I've never even read this ordinance before. I've never seen it. It wasn't in my agenda packet. It appears that somebody's trying to do an end around. So I don't know why it's so hard. If it adds a step to the process for the sake of transparency, or for the sake of saving some money, because if he brought that agenda, or that ordinance, that proposed ordinance, and it was in writing, and I've never seen it, well, maybe had we discussed it the prior meeting before we tasked him with drafting it, I would have had some things that I wanted to add to it, or some things that maybe should have been changed before it was ever drafted in the first place. And then instead of paying him to draft it the first time and then paying him to amend it, we could save that cost. So that's my take on it.
If I can,
Yeah.
since we know which article you're talking about, I'll go ahead and cut straight to the chase. I asked for that to be drawn up, for an ordinance to be drawn up. I asked for it because we had several meetings on the tree board prior to that, and there were several things that came out of that meetings that was redundant to, which just kept going over and over and over. I had a conversation with Mr. Hall and with Mr. Umber. If those changes that was suggested in there could be handled by the Codes Department. And the answer was, gentlemen?
Yes.
Yes. At that point, I said, okay, let's look at what kind of changes we need to be making so we can get it from the board. I requested through Randy to ask the city attorney to move forward with drafting the ordinance. It has always been the directive that he must get approval from the city manager before he moves forward and costs the city a dime. Did he do that?
Yes, he did.
So, here, if I've got something I want to have done, and we're going to be able to vote on it, you vote yes or no when it comes up. You should have had it in your packet. I agree with that fully. We shouldn't vote on anything we don't have time to look at. I don't have a problem with that at all. But to say, well, before we can ask anybody to do something, we're going to all have to have a vote on it, and we're going to get whatever votes we're going to come out of it, we're going to prolong the decision on it. He has, I've been here 7 years, not 10 meetings, not 20 meetings, but 7 years, and have you ever done an ordinance without getting approval from the city manager that was in seated at that time?
I've worked for 4 city managers since I've been here, and my policy has always been this city has never paid me a dime for anything that's not approved by the city manager. The way that, and I'll play within the rules, whatever the board passes, but the policy, and it wasn't a written policy, but I can assure you that if I get a call from any commissioner or the mayor up there and they want me to draft something, I have utmost respect for the board and the mayor and what they're trying to do. And I don't mean this disparagingly, but I wouldn't want your job. But any commissioner or the mayor that calls me to ask me to draft something, I won't be discourteous to them and say, you know I'm going to call the city manager or I'm going to send him an email. But I pick up the phone or I send an email and I say, look, I've been requested to do such and such. do I have your approval? And I never have had that come back, no, because if whatever I draft, this board's gonna ultimately vote on it. That paper doesn't carry any weight at all, it's just a piece of paper. But when I send it back, I send a copy to the city recorder, I send a copy to the city manager, and then they schedule the agenda however they want to do it. But I don't tell that commissioner, I'm going to check with the city manager. But if I contacted the city manager in whatever method and he said, no, you can't do that, I would say to him or her, for instance, Ms. Shirley was here, well then I'm going to have to, as a matter of courtesy, inform that commissioner or the mayor that I can't draft this. So you and they need to get together, and then the city manager, whoever it might be at the time, I never had that happen, but would have to call me back to authorize it, because I'm not going to charge the city for something I didn't do, and I'm not going to waste my time on something. Whether it gets up here and ultimately passes or not is not my concern. I don't fall in love with the documents. I do what I'm instructed. I prepare the documents, and if you pass it, that's fine. If you don't pass it, that's nothing to me, but I don't prepare something that's hanging. The second set of checks and balances is at the end of the month, I submit my bill for legal services to the city of Fairview. It is itemized in a method that has the first thing I do, the second thing I do, the third, fifth on through. It has the date, the time, what I did, how much time it took, and what the bill is. If the city manager sees this and says, I don't remember authorizing this, he calls me and we would either, we'd discuss it, and if I had put something on there in error, I would strike it. If it's something that he says, I just can't live with this, he has the ultimate right to strike it. I work for him.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
I just want to finish up.
Oh, you're not
I
done.
went through.
Okay.
Just to add, I think, and I agree with you, the way that article was written that didn't have the facts in it that should have been in there would have upset some people and said, well, it wasn't done right, it was done behind closed doors and everything. It wasn't the case. I just stated to you exactly how it was done and why it was done. And to come back to this board for us to vote on it, either you take it or you don't. The decision for what the city attorney does is strictly up to the city manager. I can't make him do anything. I have never done that, but I can request it. So,
Okay, Commissioner
Thank you.
Johnson.
Commissioner Crutcher, I think I have a solution that I want to propose to you, and it's that dealing with the transparency issue, that any time, what I would propose is any time a member of this board wanted the city attorney to do anything, that the process that is going on goes on, but an email comes out to this entire board saying which commissioner asked for something to be done. And I think then that way nobody's left in the dark. If you called Larry Lack next week and wanted him to do something, all 5 of us got an email saying that he was working on this for Commissioner Crutcher. And I feel at that point nobody can say anything's being hidden. Also, we need to do a better job, like you said, with our agendas, and if there is an ordinance that's going to be in there, it needs to go out in our packet. We don't need it to be emailed to us a day before, that we don't have a printed copy in front of us unless we print it out ourselves. Now, things do happen. If it's an emergency, it's an emergency, but I think as we try to clean up the way the agendas are going out, and if we have this paper trail showing who asked for what, I think it really takes care of itself. Because I don't really think we want to add an extra meeting to discuss something that we're having to pay him for that anyway too. So if we can do it in 2, if we do it in 3, it's going to cost us more.
Well, he's going to be here for that meeting anyway.
It depends on how long the discussion goes.
But I do want to say that, well, yeah, obviously. But I want to say, I don't think that we have the authority. That's my point. We don't have the authority to contact Larry.
We do have the authority to contact the city attorney just as we have the authority to contact any citizen. We do not have the authority to demand him do something.
That's what I mean, to contact him about this.
We can contact him about anything as long as he gets permission to do it, he can do it. We can't make him do it. But stifling us as an elected member of this city from not being able to ask the attorney to do something with the city manager's approval, I don't agree with that.
Vice Mayor Sutton's not in here, and so I hate to say this was not here, but when asked who directed you, last meeting, who directed you? Larry was asked point blank, who directed you to do this? His answer was first, not the person's name, but the sponsor. Well, then we have to go and we look who the sponsor was, and the sponsor was Vice Mayor Sutton. You know,
Well, that's why I say the email coming to us, it clears everything up. It puts it in writing, like you said, and tells who's requested what. And I think that needs to happen.
So
I have no problem with that.
so it's clear under that scenario that the city manager was not included, at least at that point. Then it raises question as to, well, was he or wasn't he? It just seems to me that it's little things like this, and maybe it's adding an extra step, and I don't want anything to be more difficult, but at the same time, I want it to, A, be above board, and to appear above board. I mean, not, let me redact that statement. I want it to be above board, period. I don't want it to ever have the appearance that it's not. And
It is
Mr.
true.
Hall had.
Yes, it is true that he didn't contact me. He did contact the city recorder, and once Larry got that on the agenda, he contacted me to get permission. And the other night when I was asked point blank, I have given Larry permission on all these codes changes, not to contact me on 15 or 20 codes changes that are coming up. I'll give him a blanket approval to draft those resolutions and ordinance changes. This particular one, I wanted to find out to make sure it wasn't part of that. And he did contact me to go forward with that, so he did have approval to do that.
And just quickly, one more thing. You know, I know we say, well, this is how it's been done. We've gone through 4 city managers, and it's been done this way for 25 years, or however long it's been done. I'm interested in doing it a different way. That's what I'm interested in. So.
I did have some comments. I think a lot of times we hear things like "we" and it confuses me because when something goes on the agenda and we have, you know, a resolution or ordinance, you know, it should be the first time we heard about it. And so, like example, and it doesn't, however it was done, I'm not even questioning or debating that, but if you go ahead and have him draw it up and make the changes, then only one person had say on what changes were made. Then is it the city attorney is telling us what changes, or was it that commissioner, or was it a we? And you know, those are the things that get really confusing to me, because when it comes down to it is when an item goes on the agenda and none of us knew about it, it is the first time. So when somebody interjects their thought process on what needs to be changed, it kind of makes it hard, even though I know we can change it and we can pass it even with changes being made and we have an opportunity. But it kind of takes away the purpose of the agenda item, and that's for us to come up and discuss it. And it is costing us money to have him draw up. And then when he goes back, I mean, I don't know how it's billed, but I'm sure we're not only charged the one time. Every time you work on something, are we not being charged?
After it's approved by the city manager. I don't work on anything unless the city manager approves.
Yes, but every time we send you back to the table to do something and to update something, you're charging us each additional time for the hours worked.
Certainly, because you know, if I submit what
you're not in for free.
what you're telling me to what the board or the city manager is telling me to do what the board's telling the city manager to tell me to do through the city manager. And I do that, and then you say, which is your prerogative, I want to change such and such, whether it was forgotten or whatever reason, I did what I was instructed to do. And then I'm instructed to change it, and I'm doing what I'm instructed to do. So I don't feel like I'm not going to charge you for anything that I don't have authorization for, but if I've got authorization for it, I'm not going to give my time away, no.
Right, so in the packet, what should happen is it should be on the agenda with the original ordinance that was wanting to be changed. And at that point, as a board, collectively, we should talk about the item that's going to be changed. Then we direct you or give our city manager the ability to direct you to write the ordinance. Then you're only doing it, it's not wasting time, you're only doing it the one time, and it has the 2 readings.
Mayor, there's been several times in the past that when commissioners don't agree on the same agenda, and I don't know that Larry's done this, but I know Mr. Peterson did, there'd be two different commissioners have an agenda item and have two different ordinance written, because one of them wanted it one way and one of them wanted it the other way. And then that's why on the agenda there's sponsors and co-sponsors. This happens every day in Nashville. They'll have something, there may be 50 different ways that it's presented to them, and then they finally get it down to one. So I can't imagine stifling the process. I think that the problem is we want to know who is asking for what, and as long as we have that paper trail, we take care of it at that point.
Well, and I actually liked your suggestion about, you know, because I think this whole thing where we're tagging somebody on the sponsor and we split up, like, you know, Commissioner Crutcher is responsible for parks or whatever, then all of a sudden you can no longer tell who's sponsoring. Before, the way it was done, we could tell if, you know, Patty Carroll wanted something on the agenda, it's, you know, set it, and then it was no doubt, you're not having to guess who, you know, is sponsoring the bill. So I really think that, or the agenda item, but basically I kind of like the direction. I understand that it may delay, but most of the things that we are bringing up are things that for some reason either you think doesn't work or something you think want changed. Most of the time the ordinances are, besides the financial, you know, side, it's because either a citizen said, I don't like this, you know, and we want to put it on the agenda or change it, or we see that something's not working and we put it, it's nothing, most of the time these are not situations that it could not be brought. Now, maybe if we have workshops prior, we could do something like that and sit around the table, and then, you know, the next, you know, agenda, taped workshops for our crowd. I don't know. I just think that it makes more sense for us, for me to have an agenda and to go have the city attorney draw it up, and it has my thoughts, my direction, and you didn't have any input or knowledge.
Do you not think you would have input when it came before this board?
Well, I would take it, wouldn't I?
Do you think you would not have it?
Well, but when you get there and your direction...
Well, the question is, do you think you would not have it?
No, I really don't. I think it's already determined when it gets here. What I think is, like that ordinance with the tree board, I think half of it was hashed out. I think I tried to put my input, but I think it was pretty much decided how it was going to be, and I didn't have a lot of choices, but it didn't stop me from trying.
But you had a vote.
Yep, I got that vote.
But if that process that she just described is happening, there's a real problem. And
But the process did go like it's supposed to go. That's what I'm talking about here. You know, people can ignore other statements on it, but it was approved by the city. This board could have changed it. This board could have made the change if they seen to. Any change they wanted to make. That's the procedure. That's how it works.
change to, what are you referring
They
to?
could change anything in the ordinance if they want to change it. If they didn't want to change anything, they didn't have to change it. It was voted on. And you know.
It was voted on. I agree.
Mayor, would you please instruct the audience that the responses are inappropriate?
No, it sounded funny the way Commissioner Crutcher explained. Oh, yeah, it was voted on.
Still, it's a formal.
Well, I mean, it
Well,
Well, it was, but
okay,
I mean, you take away the seriousness of the vote that we
okay,
had.
I got it. We're gonna go,
I mean, it was a joke, and it wasn't a joke.
point of order.
No, I think the vote was very serious. And I think it
Point
was
of
so
order.
serious that it should have been brought before this board before it was ever.
Point of order. Point of
That's
order.
what I think.
Okay. If we have a motion and we have a second, do we have any more discussion?
Yes, ma'am, just one comment. If what we're trying to do here is to change something and see if it works better the other way, I believe this is a legislative body that runs on majority rule, but that it also is one where we give and take. If this is important to Commissioner Crutcher, and this is important to you, I will support it. But I also reserve the right to bring it back up if it doesn't work. That it slows us down, it costs us more in attorney fees to do it this way. But I will support the motion if it's an important thing that my peers believe needs to be done. And so that's what I need to hear from you in order to be able to support your motion.
Oh, everything that I said originally is exactly why I'm trying to propose this. I think that I want to try it a different way. If this is the way that it's been done in the past, and if it even gives the appearance that what we've done in the past is what Mayor Carroll described, and I don't know whether that happened or not. I don't know. I want to believe that it didn't. I want to believe that it wasn't already decided, and along with every other vote that comes before this board. I want to believe that the first time we're talking about this, any of these agenda items is tonight, and then we're voting our conscience, and then we haven't had any discussion or otherwise before then. But I want to believe that. I do. But it seems like some of the things and some of the processes that we have in place, it gives off the appearance that what she's saying absolutely happens. So if this will stop that from happening, if this will make it appear more transparent, if it will look like we're not doing end arounds to try to get something pushed through before the public has had a chance to, fully see it and deliberate on it, I don't know why not do it. And if it saves us money, if it's an extra step in the process, it's an extra step in the process. I don't think it will be. I think what Mayor Carroll suggested is absolutely on point. If it is an ordinance that we want to amend, attach it to the agenda. Attach it to the agenda so we have the ordinance as it exists now with your proposed changes, why you want to change it. Let us deliberate on it as a board and make a decision whether or not we want to task him to amend the ordinance.
So you see this as an important issue?
I think it's absolutely important.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for trying it. I think what we've been doing hasn't necessarily worked for me. But, I really didn't, it's not something that I push just because I do understand the process, and I've always respected that even if something I didn't get my vote wasn't the winning vote, that this was a process that we went through. But I do think just because we've always done it one way does not mean we don't. And I appreciate Commissioner Crutcher bringing it to the table. And I think it's something that then we all engage in something, and we don't spend the time. If we've had time to know what the proposed changes are, we had the ordinance, and we know who's recommending it and why, then it's going to be easier to make decisions and votes. Yes.
One quick thing, and I need to say this, Mayor, thank you. I want to apologize to the Vice Mayor and this board for my remark earlier. I think it wasn't appropriate. I shouldn't have said it in the tone that I said it in about the vote, and it was inappropriate. And that's part of why I'm proposing this resolution, is to try to give the appearance or hopefully try to accomplish there being less divisiveness on this board, and that we do things so that we're not having to defend what we do constantly. Now, I know that we're never going to get everybody to agree with the actions we take. We're not all five going to agree on the actions we take. I understand that. But it seems like we spend a lot of time and giving off this appearance that we're divided and that, we do things for the sake of politics. I said this when I was running for office. I'm not a politician. I'm not. I'm a horrible politician. I'm going to do something up here because I think it's the right thing to do, and I'm going to vote my conscience, and I'm going to do that 100% of the time. This was not to make anybody look foolish. This was not, although this arose as the result of something that happened in the last meeting that involved you, Vice Mayor Sutton. This is not directed at you. It's not directed at you. Believe that or not. This was not, I didn't sit down and go, you know what, I'm really going to make Vice Mayor Sutton look foolish at the next. I didn't do that. I want to fix some of the issues that at least we give off the appearance that exist at the top level in our city, and that's this BOC. So my apologies to you, apologies to the citizens.
Well, let me say this, the way that I felt like that I did it was proper. To go through it, to bring it back in front of this board for their decision, to pass, not pass, whatever. I apologize, and part of it was, it wasn't publicized properly, you weren't given proper notice to be able to look at it, and we had it in our package, we had an opportunity to look at it and see what it was. And a shock to many, I agree with you, I don't have a problem with the way you want to change it. As long as it works, like Commissioner Purcell said, and doesn't hamstring us into not being able to take actions and get things done, because it is another process to move forward with it. And anything that we do should be published. What you talk about taping, I'm 100% for that. That shouldn't be any problem at all. The only thing I said about that was the executive meeting, and that's for legal reasons. So I don't have a problem with the way you want to do it. But I just want to make sure that everybody understood that it wasn't like it appeared to be, that it was done the right way through the proper channels. That's all I got.
Okay, any other discussion? Yes, the attorney.
Real quickly, just one point for clarification. I don't want people to think that I don't see the the budget amendments. It's always in my packet, but you're talking about saving time. Tom's got the figures there. When he writes the thing, they're essentially, the form's the same. And if he's got to get the figures to me, and then I got to sit down and go through the figures, you're going to pay twice what you'd pay for that. But it's always in my packet, and I do review it when I'm reviewing the rest of the packet.
Okay, yes, Mr. Hall.
Just clarification before y'all vote. The way I'm hearing this is that I've got to have a majority before I can hire the city attorney to do ordinances or resolutions.
No.
You don't.
No.
You
can.
This board, any member of this board, either unilaterally or in connection with another member, can't come to you and engage and ask you to engage the city attorney without a majority vote of this board. You can engage the city attorney to do whatever you think is proper.
But as far as resolutions that y'all are considering and ordinance changes, I need a majority vote from y'all to move forward with it.
Not if it's a resolution or an ordinance change that
You're
requesting.
sponsoring. You want to, I mean.
But it's just like all these codes review things. They're essential that we get those straightened out. And I just want a direction of how to go forward with that.
Well, it's different because you have a committee, a group that, I mean, I would think this is where it would be different is you had a codes review and they're making the recommendations. So you have it based off of the committee or its recommendation. I mean, that would be something that we need to, define. But, as far as budget amendments, I mean, he can draw a budget. I mean, if we know, that he could draw do it himself. And if that's what the city staff is presenting, I guess, then, it's fine. I think it's more of these changes, the, ordinance changes and resolutions.
My proposal was specific to the BOC, the other commissions, boards, and committees. I'm saying that those groups can't unilaterally engage the city attorney. That's all I'm saying.
But
You
to tell
still
the
have
city
the full
manager
authority.
that he couldn't do what he needed to do.
Well, we
is
can't
the
do that.
Charter
Yeah.
violation.
Mr. Hall has special
We can't do
provisions
that.
from the charter that says he can.
Yeah.
Right.
I just want to make sure it's done properly and what y'all want done. I mean, after all, y'all are my boss also, so I've got to respond to y'all. So just as I've stated that the process has been that the city recorder gets y'all, she sends out a request for agenda items, and if it's something that comes up on there, Larry contacts me. And as some of these codes changes go through with strictly planning commission approval, and then some of them go through with y'all. I think the resolutions, the planning commission has the right on that, right?
If it's a resolution involving the subdivision regulations or the design review manual, they approve it. If it's a zoning ordinance, they make a recommendation by statute, and it's fine. It's approved by the board. Or any ordinance, they can't pass an ordinance.
Okay. I think I've got clarification on it now. Thank you.
Are we all clear on what we're voting on?
Could we restate the motion?
Sure.
The motion was that it be the policy of the city that no member of the BOC or other commission, board, or committee engage the city attorney draw up any resolution or ordinance that's not been voted on by the BOC and received a majority vote.
Okay. But the city manager can have anything he wants drawn up without having to come to the Board of Commissions. That's what he wanted to.
By charter.
So are we actually now going to vote to have him draw that up in a written form?
Yeah.
Or are we just going to make that the policy from this point on?
Well, that's, if it needs to be in a resolution, it'll be a policy.
I think it would be, well, you can set a policy, but in this instance, I think it'd be better to have a resolution for future reference. People that are present here would probably remember it, and then somebody say, what was it we said back there on such and such time? I'd recommend that you do.
Yeah, that was my motion, is to engage you to do a resolution.
So we're going to vote to ask the city manager to ask him to do that resolution?
No, as the BOC, we
As
are
a
now have a
board.
majority vote to ask him to do it right here in the meeting. We don't have to go through the city manager. It's out here and open. It's in a meeting that the public has access to. We all know what we're doing, or I hope we do. I hope I've stated it
The
well
city
enough.
manager would still have to instruct me to draw the resolution.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll ask Mr. Hall to ask you to draw that resolution. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, and so, can you share with us, who first and second, who? Okay, just want to make sure, it's been so long. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that will bring us to item G, contract or discuss and take action on contract for the Holland Brothers for the Starlight Jam series. Poor Jenny, long day. Come on up.
In front of you is the contract that is for the Howland Brothers, which is the band that we're trying to book for July. It's for $300, and it's for our Starlight Jam, which we will be charging this year. We're trying to make it self-sustainable program. And
Mayor, I'd like to
questions?
make a motion to approve this on the attorney agreeing to everything in the contract. He had it 5 minutes before the meeting, and he has not had the time to review it, so.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Any discussion? My only question, which I asked earlier, but just for the record, you said you're planning on being able to get the money back by charging, is it a mission fee or?
it's a $5 per adult suggested donation, so.
Okay, a donation. Are
And
you
we'll
gonna
also
have?
be selling waters and sodas that were donated, and that money is the hopes that it would pay for the program.
Okay,
And we are also obviously looking for donations from sponsorships and that kind of thing.
okay.
And
So, go ahead.
You have already received some.
Yes, we have received one so far from Lampley Storage that's helping with this program.
Okay. So this is another situation, if anybody wants to donate, feel free. This contract is basically what they require to reserve them.
Right, this is, we have worked with other bands, but this is a band that has a management company and they have a contract. And that is why we're coming in front of you, because no matter what the price, we need to come in front of the board for a contract.
Yes. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Good night.
So long.
I know. Okay, new business, item K, and I have, let me find it. I gave it to all of y'all, and then I think Ms. Jane emailed it to all of us. But these are all recommendations that were made at the last tree board meeting for us to review. I just have to find my, did you find yours?
Haven't yet.
Unfortunately, when we shuffle papers. Got it.
I've got it here.
Okay, you gonna read?
In an effort to address items that have come to the attention of the Tree Commission in the past years, the following recommendations are being made to the Fairview BOC for discussion and action. Number one, welcome to Fairview Signs. The Tree Commission recommends that the BOC reserve $10,000 from the current tree bank funds for replacement of some existing shrubbery and add additional landscaping and respective maintenance around the trees. 3, welcome to Fairview Signs to include at least one redbud tree, official city tree at each sign. Follow-up Tree Commission, March 2015. Number 2, City Hall landscaping. The Tree Commission recommends that the Board of Commissioners reserve $18,000 from the current tree bank funds to allow for the completion and respective maintenance of landscaping on City Hall property. It was recommended to include 3 trees of each variety of redbud, official city tree. Follow-up from discussions originating from November of 2010 and ongoing, including September through December 2014. Number 3, Boyd Park Tree Commission recommends that the BOC reserve $20,000 from the current tree bank funds for use by the Park Board for the continuing planting and hardwood trees, respective maintenance for the replacement of the removed loblolly pines, as well as the restoration of the burn site and test site. This could include a variety of redbud trees and other understory trees. The development of the replacement plan development by the Park Board mentioned in Tree Commission minutes of January 2013. History Village, the Tree Commission recommends that the BOC reserve $30,000 from the tree bank funds for landscaping plan and initial phase planning and respective maintenance for History Village landscaping. It was recommended that the certified licensed landscaper architect to be used to come up with an appropriate design, and this might cost up to $10,000, with an additional $20,000 to be reserved for the initial phase planning. The addition of landscaping on the Triangle School property was noted in minutes from the September 2014 meeting as an example of how the tree bank funds might be used. Roadscape projects, the Tree Commission recommends that the BOC reserve an additional amount of the current tree bank funds over and above the $17,000 already reserved for the project to cover any additional cost that might occur from reworking or landscaping design to account for areas of standing water, as well as some ongoing respective maintenance, example, mulching every 6 months. Roadscapes projects discussed intermittently for several years and with more recent focus September of 2014.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendations from the Tree Commission.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to make a motion that we refer this back to the Tree Commission. There are some excellent ideas on here. However, there is no background information as to where they came up with these numbers, and they mention both the Park Commission and the Historical Association projects headed up by them. However, there's no information available that they have vetted their idea with those particular committees that we have going on, and there's no mention in here that they've discussed with the actual people within the city staff that would be doing this site of work as to their ideas about this. So I would like to refer it back to the Tree Commission. I'm making a motion to amend to refer it back to the Tree Commission to address those items and then resubmit.
Okay, we have an amended motion.
Second.
Okay, discussion on the amended motion.
Mayor, I do agree that these projects look very, very worthy of our consideration. And I feel that once the background information has been done and brought back to us, I think that we need to rank these in order of how we would like to see them proceed. Several of them, I believe, need to be done. Currently, with what we are discussing with the possibility of the tree bank money and our budget, I don't see how we could allocate this money tonight to any of these projects. So I do agree with the amended motion at this time.
Well, and what I feel like this is not necessarily coming up with new projects. It's things that the Tree Commission have discussed for a while, and I like the fact they put the dates when these came up, that these are things that would help protect these projects, and they're all worthy projects. So I don't oppose with getting an itemized list or some kind of projection, or but some of it does have already, you know, the arborist's recommendations behind it and projected costs. I don't know exactly if we could be clear exactly what we're wanting if we're going to do this and amend it and send it back.
Well,
go ahead.
Mayor, are we gonna send all of this back, or do we want to? Are there some of these that we can look at now? I mean, I agree that all of these sound like worthy projects, but there are some that I would like to have some more information on before I voted to approve one way or the other on this. But I just didn't know if there was any that, I'm sorry, I didn't know if there was any that we had discussed. I know the Fairview, welcome to Fairview signs is something I've heard come up before. So,
did they send them to us in their order of importance?
I don't believe that it is, but we do have a representative that's here. If I don't mind, if you want to come up to Ms. Jane, if you'll come share. Yes. I don't think she asked or desired to have this, but it would be helpful if you did have insight, and that's fine if you don't, you know.
No, there is no particular order that these were discussed in.
Okay. And then can you just shed a light on whether, I know the arborist kind of came up with some of the pricing. Is there already existing worksheets for any of these?
Not that I'm aware of. A lot of these have been discussed in the past, and so we just wanted to make sure that money was kind of reserved for these efforts so that we could move forward with providing information. We did ask the members during the meeting that had knowledge on some of the pricing so that they could come up with a kind of a ballpark figure.
Okay. Mr. Hall.
oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Some of the tree board meetings I've sat in on, they have been aware of our project with the roadscapes. And I know you've been instrumental in getting that change where we could pay for our match out of that. So I would see that would be one that should be reserved for sure.
Yeah.
Because we do have plans of going forward with that.
So that should already be reserved and probably isn't necessary.
In the Finance Review Committee, I have suggested that. I think Commissioner Basile is...
I think that the way I read this, and Jane, please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is an additional $17,000 that they want reserved on top of what we have already reserved for our part of the matching grant.
No, that's incorrect. We know there's $17,000 already set aside.
Okay.
It was my understanding when somebody from the State Department came and looked at the standing water situation in the roadway, that there was going to have to be some design changes. and that might actually run a little bit above the 17, or whatever the matching fund might be.
It's an unknown number.
Correct, correct.
So it's just trying to set more funds aside to, if in
To make
case
sure that
it
there is
was.
that matching available.
Well, it just depends on how the board wants to do it. We could go ahead and vote for, one item or all item, or send it all back. We are a little bit more of a time frame as far as the grant process.
Yes, ma'am.
But I don't know that we're really that much in a hurry, because I think a lot of us, we've, in another meeting, whether it's finance or what the Board of Commissioners had discussed, that this money would be used to help get the grants. So go ahead, Commissioner Crutcher.
I want to just say, I want to I guess, address the elephant in the room, because when I first read this and I was at the tree board meeting, one of the things that what I think is concerning, is the concern of the tree board is that they know that there's a real possibility that we intended on trying to potentially use some of the tree bank funds to help with the budget situation. And I think, and at first, in light of the last meeting and what action this board took with respect to the ordinance dealing with the tree commission, I first thought of this and I thought, man, this is a knee-jerk reaction. This is everything that I don't really like about politics, to be honest with you. But I do think that there are some projects on here that are worthy, that are projects that they have discussed in the past, that they are now frankly concerned they're not going to, the money's not going to be there to do these projects. So, maybe the approach is not the way that I would have liked to have seen it from the tree commission, but I understand their concern. So, although we don't know the specifics about how this money, is going to be used, I think they're just simply asking, hey, that we're going to reserve this amount of money for these specific projects so that we know that it's there, or the board has earmarked it available to be there for these specific projects when the time does come. I think that's what they're really after. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I said that all wrong, but that's what I feel like.
Well, Commissioner Crutcher, one of the things is years past, I always assumed every time we pass something up here, the money would be set aside for that project. And then we come out years later and we have some of these projects that we're finally working on, and the money really wasn't set aside from the reserves. So then we had to find creative ways to go through with these. So I don't think it's safe for any of us to assume. Now, granted, I don't think this is going to happen anymore, because I think our staff is on top of that. But when we approve projects, the money has to be set aside. And I think where you might have appeared that it was knee-jerk to you, to me it seemed very reasonable, because I had seen it happen, and these were all great projects that had been discussed. So, just kind of saying, yeah, we also agree that these were all good uses for this money, then that would just give us the opportunity to ensure that that money stays in place.
And I'm not opposed to that money standing in play. That's not what I'm advocating. I'm advocating that it is there and it is available for these projects, but I'm only one vote. And if we choose to, if this board chooses to use it somewhere else, then that, I'm going to support that decision.
Commissioner Basell.
At the way we left it at the Finance Committee, we were no longer considering the money from the tree fund. I do believe, like Commissioner Crutcher, that I believe that this, while it may be well-intentioned, was a knee-jerk reaction to get it on the agenda tonight for fear that that's going to happen. I don't think it's prudent that until we are for sure even though it's not our intention at this time to use that money, I don't think it's prudent for us to obligate anything, because we would just have to de-obligate it if the money is required to be used. But my main concern, because I do think there are some things on here, but even like number one, I think number one is great, except that the reason that the shrubbery that was already planted died is because there's no irrigation there. And we passed a year ago to put lights out there, but we didn't appropriate enough money to actually have the electricity run there. So while I think number one may be great, we've got to address one of two things. Who's going to water it? Or what's it going to cost to get the irrigation line out there? And none of these ideas, no matter how good they are, they've not been developed. We don't know what we're buying. And like some other things that keep being brought up, that's one of the things I think has always been a problem with the way the board is operated, not just us, but previous boards, is they look at the cost of something without the maintenance cost of it. If we're not going to be in a position to hire more people, yet we've now got shrubbery all over town we have to water because we don't have an irrigation system, then how are we going to get that done? All the $78,000 that they have spent here is just going to die again. And because we did have plants at the welcome signs. The other part of that is that we are involving two other committees whose opinion is not on here. We're also working on a management plan, forest management plan, that may not call to plant any more trees in Bowie Park. So there are a number of things that have to be coordinated with other people besides city staff and how you're going to maintain this stuff. And none of that is here. So to fence money, even if there wasn't the budget situation that we're trying to deal with, to fence money until we get that information, and if it's their idea and they've been talking about it, certainly they would be the ones to go back and get the final information and coordinate with those other commissions or committees. That's the subject of my motion.
Yes.
I think the concern is based on where we may be headed with respect to the tree commission, that they wouldn't have that ability. I think that's where the concern was and why we may have gotten this tonight. And I don't know whether that's the case or not. I'm just saying I think that was the concern. I don't want to speak for the tree commission, but I did go to the meeting and did try to listen in, and you can tell me if that's wrong or right as well.
Well, I can address a couple of things. One is the concern. I've been on the tree board myself for 7 years, and for 7 years we've talked about a tree bank that did not exist. And so finally, we have one that we could move forward with and make some improvements and things. And as far back as 2010, some of these things have been discussed, but realistically, there was no money there. So in light of the fact that there was discussion, the money could be gone, we did want to make sure that there were some recommendations made. To address Commissioner Basel's concern about maintenance, part of the maintenance, it is my understanding, at least for the Fairview signs, where the shrubs that are planted are not native to this area, so that may be one reason they did not survive. But in those recommendations, there's the recommendation that this would also include the cost of like gator bags or mulch to make sure that the plants do live.
Yes.
Quickly, and I don't know what motion is on the floor. I think there's an amended motion.
There's an amended.
I have an amended motion to defer this back to the tree commission, and the way I remember, and I don't have my document with me, but the way I remember the amended document, even if it passes, it would not prevent them from doing what I'm referring back to them. And that is to go and vet these with the appropriate other committees they have cited in here and with the city staff to get us some hard figures about what we're buying into here.
I'm not opposed to that amendment, but I don't know if I'm amending the amended motion or if I'm just adding to his motion procedurally. Somebody ought to help me with that. But what I would like to see happen is that if we're going to send this back down for to sort of vet this out and further, I guess, flesh out the details here, I would just like to amend it that we don't appropriate that money until that recommendation comes back up.
I won't allow that. You'll have to make another motion amending the amendment.
I'll amend the amended motion that we do exactly as Commissioner Basell says, but not make any appropriation with that tree fund money until those recommendations come back up that have been fully laid out and vetted with the other committees or boards.
And city staff.
And city staff.
Okay, we have a amended,
Second amendment.
a second amendment motion. Do we have a second? I'll second it. Okay, any more discussion on the second amended motion? This is going to get fun. All in favor for the second amended motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. For the first amended motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, that was the opposed, nay. And the original motion, well, it passed, so I don't have to go back to the original. Their amendment.
The deferred passed, so that's what happened.
Yeah, that's what happened. Okay, so, okay, we survived. Thank you for coming up. I appreciate that. Okay, 10L. Okay, employee insurance, and this is just a discussion, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We expect no action tonight. We've already established the special meeting on Tuesday, April 28th at 6 o'clock, correct? Okay. Mr. Hall.
Excuse me just a second. I'm picking up too much conversation from the audience out here. Can you hear? Can you hear it?
Guys, if y'all will keep it down, Commissioner's concerned about the conversation.
Well, can you hear it? You can hear also, okay?
I hear what they're saying.
Okay.
We're
No,
moving
I'm just
on.
saying, just for the tapes. Go ahead.
Okay. Commissioner Hall, City Manager Hall, Mr. Daugherty and myself met with Tim White from Benefits, Inc. We had previously met with another vendor that serves as an insurance broker and decided that the services being offered, one, quite frankly, he was not very responsive to our needs, and two, we just didn't feel that he was responsive to our request to really redefine our insurance program. Mr. White presented us, and will do so in great detail. I am not an insurance salesman or a broker, so I'm just going to give you the highlights of this. I did send the board earlier in the week a summary. Did y'all all receive that? I can have copies made if you did not get that. Old versus new policy. And there's been a couple adjustments to that. The first adjustment, just to let you know, is that the actual cost of the policy that we are thinking is the way we want to go is $391,000 rather than $388,000. But the important part is, even when you add the dental in, right now we spend in excess of $460 to somewhere around, and of course the end of the year is not over, so we don't know. But projected wise, we could spend as much as $478,000 this year in health insurance and dental insurance. Vision is, the employee pays their own vision. Under these policies, we're going to get a better policy, a $1,000 deductible versus a $4,000 current deductible. We're going to get out of the HRA business so that we know exactly what our monthly payment is, and we're going to provide a rollover of the dental insurance with just a slight increase for just over $400,000. So we're looking at a cost savings for a better insurance policy of somewhere between $50,000 to $73,000 for the city. We will be changing, however, from Blue Cross Blue Shield to United Healthcare. It will be a policy that most folks are used to, where you pay your deductible and then they start paying so much. The catastrophic is $2,500 compared to a catastrophic this year, I believe, of $5,000. So for our individual employees, we had hoped to have a lot of multiple choices. The reality of it is that we will have an alternative process or alternative policy for those people that have a, say for instance, if you had a pacemaker and you had to go to the cardiologist every month, there's a little different policy that pays more for specialists than this base policy. But for the majority of our employees, this is the policy that will serve them best, and their cost will be $100 per month for an individual. 1 + 1 be the employee and spouse or employee and child. It'll be $200 a month. That's no change from what they currently have. And then for family coverage, it will be $300 a month, and that is what, remember last year, that's what it was going to be, and we suspended it back $75 for a year. So we're looking at that. That is compared to, it would have been at least 25% more under the Blue Cross Blue Shield plan if we had just rolled over what we had. And so we're really pleased with what we've come up with. And like I said, Tim will be here to give everybody details on top of what I had already sent you. But I'll be happy to answer questions. Or Tom, do you have anything else to add?
I think you hit it pretty well.
Is the difference between the policy that's in effect now, the difference that you've calculated, or the policy that we had? Did we change policies at some point in the middle of the fiscal year, November or something?
We changed it to cut it short to end in June, so now that our policy would run concurrent with the fiscal year. We didn't change policies, we just kind of started over again.
But this will be less than what we're paying now.
Absolutely, substantially less. You're talking about, we won't have the contingency liability that we have currently with the HRA. We budget $75,000 to $85,000 for the HRA, and then we wind up spending twice that much.
And it's better coverage.
And it's better coverage, I believe. It's more of a standard policy. For an individual that. Oh, and I didn't mention, we also made a correction to the prescription coverage so that the prescription coverage, where right now it's 10, 30, and 50%, it's 10, 30, and $60. So for those people that have a high-cost prescription, they're now looking at $60 rather than 50% of it. And for individuals that have, say, diabetes and are buying insulin, that's a significant savings right there. Out-of-pocket stuff. There will be no, they provide no fluff services. We won't have an HRA. You won't have a health savings account or a flexible savings account where you could take that $1,000 deductible and put it into something and defer the tax on that. But our contribution, our employee contributions remain pre-tax. So even though they say a single person pays $100, if they're in the 15% tax bracket, $15 of tax is saved off that. So in essence, they pay $85. And for the insurance policy that we've got, and Tim has brokered and found for us, this is a really good value, and it puts us on par with the other programs being offered in the county and Franklin and that sort of thing. So we're real happy with it. Tom, do you have anything you want to add?
I think one good thing about it also, I was discussing it with him, was we're not going to have the, I'm trying to think of the right words for which out. You can go to whoever you want to go to. You don't have to have a selected in-house or in-session group to go to. Am I right?
Well, they have a, like any policy nowadays, they have a preferred list of providers. But according to Tim, and I did not ask for the list of providers, I'm sure he can bring it when he comes, they have a bigger network than Blue Cross Blue Shield.
It's the way Tim explained it to me, the way I understood it, it's like the Blue Cross Blue Shield P Network, which you can go to the TriStars as well. So,
Yeah, it almost does away with the in-house or whatever the case may be. The way I looked at it, I may be wrong.
yeah, it's very, very wide, expanded cover.
You know, just in real essence, right now, our employees, we pay $2,000 of the first $4,000. So they're going to they have to use $2,000 of their own money before insurance starts. Under this policy, they're going to have to only use $1,000 of their own money. And there are many things like well care, their family physician will be a $15 pay, and it includes labs. There's a lot of little nuances to it that they'll see will be benefit. But right off the bat, it's $1,000 less out of their pocket than they currently have to come up with to have health insurance.
Right, and the max out of pocket was $2,500.
Right.
And then $5,000 for the family.
Well, and I mean, the plan, I think the employees are going to be happy with it, and I think it's a good plan. So, and I think the one complaint that been hardest hit was the healthcare or the insurance hit that they took last year, because it's all fine and good if you're healthy, but those that have to pay that money and weren't expecting or did not budget that money, this is going to be a much better plan for them. So I appreciate y'all doing all the research and finding a good plan, and can't wait to have him here and get more information. But just to point out, when you were asking the questions, the last plan was based on 8 months, and this one's a year.
Right,
So,
this will be.
so this is even, that tells you it's even more of a savings, because, you know, the difference was not based on a match a year for a year. So, okay, anybody else? Okay, and we don't have to take a vote, so we'll go to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board of Commissioners. I just want to echo what you just said. Of any complaint that I had all last year, it was the health coverage that we provided. I think they're going to be super pleased this year. I want to thank Commissioner Purcell, CFO Tom Daugherty, and also Tim White. He's took several questions, several meetings from us constantly all this past several months, and I want to thank them for what's transpired. It's a huge savings for the city. I think it's an indication of what we're trying to do to save the overall citizens' money that we're directed to control. The next thing I would like to do is thank Dr. Oyer for my invitation out to the Special Olympics yesterday. I left there, had to leave early, but I made sure I stayed long enough to see the enthusiasm that these athletes had. I actually cried on the way to that meeting, wishing I could still be able to compete. I would have loved to have been out there running with those children yesterday. It was just amazing what it meant to me yesterday. It was amazing, and I do thank Dr. Oyer for my invitation to come and be there. Thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Okay, city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things that I need to bring you up to date on, and I'll make it brief by not going into them in great detail. The first thing is I have some really good news for the city. Our consent agenda bill passed the House and the Senate. I think the last vote was unanimous. There was nobody opposed it. It was signed by the governor last Friday, 4/10/15. So if you happen to see Representative Durham or Senator Johnson, you might want to thank them for passing that bill that allows us to get rid of reading the captions. Now, not just yet. Still has to pass 2 readings, and it has to be unanimous. But if City Manager Hall approves this, I will have that ordinance repealing our interim and enacting the new ordinance, so you won't have to read any of the captions unless If somebody wants to pull it off, then you go to the normal route. But other than that, you'll just say consent agenda and vote on it and go on. There's 3 or 4 other things that I'm not going to cover them individually, but just mention to you as a topic. There's there's 4 pieces of legislation regarding annexation and de-annexation. All of them now, I'm not going to go into them because there's some nuances in there but that are different in the bills, but all of them are on the calendar committee or held up somewhere, and usually when you see this, it probably won't get out and get past this session. I am interested to know if they don't do that, are they going to continue the moratorium or not, but these bills don't do that, and they may not deal with it at all. The last thing that I have is I need to tell you that the answer to the lawsuit filed against the city by Mr. Mooneyham has been answered formally in the circuit court, and basically now until discovery or something starts, the ball is in his court, so to speak. I just want to let you know that. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Last meeting, I skipped over the Vice Mayor Sutton because, you know, I engaged in a conversation in closing comments. But I would like to make a public apology for that. I definitely did not mean to do that, and your words are important. So I'm going to give you the honor of going first. And I may even let you go twice.
Well, that would be okay. They'd make up one. But I want to thank everybody for their hard work. I do have a question. City Manager Holly, have we moved forward or got anything, other figures on the hearing impaired system for here that we discussed?
I'm going to refer that to the city recorder.
I asked our IT, Ms. Sissy Taylor, about that a couple of weeks ago, and she did not have any further information from the company. She was having trouble getting information back from them.
Okay, I'd like to request if we can't get information from them, we find somebody else. I think it's important for the people to be able to hear what's going on.
We can do that.
That's all I have.
Okay, and since we're on this side, I'll go ahead to Commissioner Johnson.
Nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. And Commissioner Bissell.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. I usually don't say anything, especially this time of night. I'm usually asleep by this time of night. I got some feedback, and I've talked to Commissioner Crutcher, and I think he's okay with it, but I got some feedback about our Finance Committee meeting and the fact that I wouldn't share my work papers during the meeting. I do a lot of research, and when I have something that I believe is publishable, I think my peers will testify that I send it to them. They get it. I don't try to influence them one way or the other. I just send them the information. But during the meetings, I often bring myself reminder notes, things that I want to cover, things that I want to ask, and I take my notes on top of my reminder notes. I consider those to be my work papers, and quite frankly, they're not in a publishable format, and they would tend to add more to the confusion. So I believe those are mine. They are proprietary in that they are mine, and so I probably was too blunt in responding to his request, but the reality is that I do share the information that I bring when it is in a publishable format, but when it's not, I don't feel the need to throw it up there and add to the confusion. So just wanted to clarify that. If there's anybody still watching or in the audience that read my editorial this week in the paper, I appreciate the fact you took the time to read it. Some of the feedback that I've gotten has been that it appears that I may have flipped sides, and now I'm suddenly acknowledging a relationship with 2 of my commissioners that I wouldn't previously acknowledge. And I've never shied away from what my votes are or my association with any of these folks up here. I hold to the fact that we were elected. We were not elected as a group. We were elected individually by different sets of votes. And that the one thing that I count on when I leave here is that every one of us is doing the very best job we know how to do. What I don't like, still don't like, and never will like, is the fact that someone accuses me of colluding with someone outside of this meeting and or refers to me as good old boy. I consider that to be a derogatory term, a term that is no longer proper in this decorum. Whether you respect me or not, The office that I hold, that you elected me to, requires a decorum that you don't refer to me as good old boy. It is a negative connotation, and I don't like it. And I do not collude with my fellow commissioners prior to a meeting about what they will vote. But this is a small town. We do things where we run into each other. We go to social events where we run into each other. We occasionally even have lunch together, not to discuss city business. So I'm not going to ostracize myself from the people that I have served with for many years now, and hope to serve with Commissioner Crutcher for at least another year and a half, to placate somebody's assertion that we're colluding. It's just inappropriate. And the last thing I want to say is I tried the best way I knew how by asking the mayor to call a workshop and for us to go through a package that I put a lot of effort into about what each committee's charter was, what their role was, and what their area of expertise that the city was counting on them. When I first started volunteering for the city, the mayor at the time, who happened to be my neighbor, told me that as a member of a committee or a commission, and I started on the Planning Commission and the Tree Commission, that as a member of that, I must always remember that I am part of the city government. And that when I speak, when I say things that are out of the context of my role in the city government, people don't make that distinction. And that I always need to focus on what my role is, not to try to expand my role. That's what I want from our committees. I value the input of those people. I certainly value the time that those folks put into it. But it becomes clear when you read the charters that we don't have any uniformity in that, and that we have some committees that just naturally over time have expanded themselves a little bit. That's all I want to happen, is for those folks to reread their charter, for us to make the charters. A commission should have the same authority as another commission. A board should have the same authority as another board. A committee should have the same authority as all committees. And that we get everything in line, much like some of the legislation we talked about and changed tonight, to do that. That's all I want to happen. Because to not have those people's input hamstrings us. And that's not good for us either. So I appreciate you listening to me tonight. I just wanted to explain where I was coming from on those three things, and I yield the floor back to the mayor.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Crutcher?
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't take offense to Commissioner Basile not showing me his work in the workshop last week, and I appreciate him sharing it with us, after that workshop. It was hard for me to. It's hard for me with numbers, period. But when I'm hearing them in the air and not looking at them, it makes it even that much harder. So that's why I asked him to publish that. And I probably shouldn't have put him on the spot, because I understand that like me, he writes notes. You can see my agenda tonight. I've wrote notes all over it, some of which probably none of you could read if you wanted to try to read it. But I understand it's his work, and I shouldn't have asked him to publish that in that particular instance. Too, I think I said I attended the Elected Officials Academy in the fall, and one of the things we discussed there at the Elected Officials Academy is team building on a board. And talked to City Manager Hall this week about the prospect. Obviously, if we can find funding at some point in the future of us doing a commissioner's retreat. We publish it, we make it all above board with the Open Meetings Act. You all are welcome to come if you want and spend the weekend wherever we decide to go, or the night. But I just thought it would be a good idea if we look at doing that in the future, to get to know one another, not talk about city business, but get to know one another on a personal level more so than we know each other now, and maybe and build some mutual respect and team building. And so that's something I would like to see happen. If it's just maybe it's just an evening. And I know MTAS even said in the Elected Officials Academy that they would come out and do workshops or whatever it is we want them to do. So something I'd like to look at in the future. Two, when we talked earlier about amending the agenda, I said that there was some question about the Open Meetings Act and what implication amending an agenda for a regularly scheduled meeting may or may not have on that. And I said that I had read an AG's opinion. I probably should have looked at the top of the header, because it really wasn't the AG, it was the comptroller. So I wanted to correct that on the record. I apologize for saying AG, Attorney Cantrell. It was the comptroller's opinion that I read, or someone from the comptroller's office. 2 or 3, I would like to see on the next agenda, and this would probably be adding an additional agenda item, but it seems like there's been a problem with who, or some confusion over who is supposed to put some of these committees' recommendations or things on the agenda, which is why we added that so late tonight, I think, with respect to the Tree Commission. So I would like to see if maybe just discuss if we need to just add an agenda item that specifically deals at the next meeting with recommendations from committees or boards. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Whew, this late hour. I won't take a lot of time. I wanted to say to the city attorney, I know when some of the conversations that was coming up on drawing up and who was going to request, a lot of it came to be money. In no way do we think that you're misusing, mischarging, overcharging. We know, and I've heard the city manager report several times that you probably don't charge us for a lot of things that we, normal situation would. So I just wanted to take this moment and, acknowledge that in no way the questions, do we think you're, overbilling or, trying to make money. I was just trying to clarify, how it was billed and, hourly and how many times we were billed on a resolution or ordinance. So just take that. I think even though that some of the discussion gets heated when you're up here, but, to me, this is business. It's y'all's business. It's the people's business. And so I don't mind trying to voice my opinion and hopefully voice your opinion, or at least feel like that things are being said. I know it's uncomfortable in a lot of times in these settings to see us going back and forth, but realize we are just people and we get passionate about what we're trying to do or say. I do feel like that this process, we did accomplish some decent work tonight. And, sometimes that sometimes it's painful to grow, but we're going through growing pains. And we're not only going through it as a city with, some of the new things, but as a new board, trying to maybe look at some things and say, what are we doing good and what are we doing bad? And I definitely do believe a meeting, maybe having MTAS come back out and, lead a discussion might be a great idea to help us work through some of this process. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everybody coming out. And I would like a motion to adjourn. Okay, good night. And I